we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you all tuning us on in as we got a great night with Geraldine Orozco tonight, talking about our Zen, our Chi, our chakras, our alien contact, extraterrestrials, and everything in between. But first, we got to say hello to all of you. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position, Sugar Britches with the silver, and B in the bronze medal position tonight. Let's say hello to everybody else out there. Petty Van, Roy Boy, Chris 716. How y'all doing? Brown Dwarf and Michael Morris. Good to have you here. Logan L, Raymond L, D. Cohen. How y'all doing? There's little Timmy Senor hanging on out. Tim will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Donna, Kurt M, Kathy Evans. Nice to have you all here. Hi, Pam Harris, Penny Van, Steve Q. Welcome to SOR Chat. Samantha Hazelwood Gray, how are you? And there's number 26 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. He'll be starting at left wing tonight. Panic Boy, nice to see you. Hi, Eva. Dave Walters, how you doing, man? Monica, Daryl Zerline, nice to have you both here. Hi, Jessica. Sweet Donna Spencer, there she is. We love you, dear. How are you doing? Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Millennium, my man, nice to see you. W. David Page, nice to have you here. Sundance Kid, welcome to SOR Chat again. And Michael Leger, the Michael Leger, is hanging on out with us. Jurassic Joey, Pat Toohey, nice to see you both. Mark Sanchez, how you doing, buddy? Hey, tell us what Hawaiian shirt you got on right now. Into the Night, Bigfoot at Paranormal Talk Radio. Welcome to SOR Chat. Pixie Lara, Richard Elmore, thank you for joining us. Cosmic Fleur, Jay Burke, Jaden, and Richard Elmore. Good to have you all here. Bigfoot Rob is here. Bigfoot Rob will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Let us continue on here. And let's see where we are here. Laura Lobbs, how are you? And me, Woiken, Love V Love, and Cool Doikes, 1. Welcome to SOR Chat. And moving on down, Welsh Hammer, Maggie M10, Obi Flett, how y'all doing? TMI, nice to have you here. Justin Shapker, give us a hair update if you don't mind. Your hair's looking lovely tonight. That's definitely not Head and Shoulders you're using. No way. Robert Lamoth, good to see you. And who else do we have in the chat room tonight? Penman. There you go. Crypted 559. Hey, Javier, how you doing? Sibylla Irwin, how are you, my dear? Nice to see you. And where else are we? Marty Burback. Nice to have you back. Marty Burback. Yeah, it's going to be a great show tonight. So we've got about a minute to go here before we go. The super chat is open. And our store is open on our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can go get some really cool swag. Yeah, I want to see you in our swag. Take some pictures so that way we can put them on our website. And let's get the radio side going, shall we? So that way we can allow Bill WD40 to come on in right here above my finger in the Spreaker chat room. And you'll see him pop in there and start lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. The Doug Shelby loves it. Loves it. The power of the. That's right. Eddie Patch, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Oh, that last one kind of hurt my throat. Hold on a second here. Better pop one of these in. Yeah, don't need to have a sore throat before showtime. Stu Garson, Joey Zed, how are you? I don't even know if he's Canadian or not. Joey Zed, how are you, man? All right, and if you're looking to get to Vegas for us, May 19th through 21st, at our second annual fan party at the Golden Nugget, we want to see you there. Time is running out to get VIP tickets. Go to Spaced Out Radio Network at gmail.com and get your tickets today. On that note, as we get ready to go ahead here, horns up, let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A power show of goodness for you tonight as Geraldine Orozco returns for the Spiritual You, where we will get into our Zen, our Chi, and everything else that kind of goes in between. Then, in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp. Then after that, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is going to be here for the Crypted Report. Excuse me. All right, moving on here. Geraldine Orozco is a monthly contributor here on Spaced Out Radio, where we get to speak all about our consciousness, our spirituality, and even a little bit of our aliens, because, you know, many of us have aliens out there. And if you don't have aliens, maybe you're jealous, maybe you're not, but it's just one of those things that we seem to have. And you know what? Geraldine has been doing this since 2013, where she had her own experience. She came out of the loop, came out of the business world to check out her own personal voyage on what we call the Woo Train. Yes. Geraldine is now the owner of Bay Area Meditation in San Francisco, California, where she helps companies, she helps people and individuals find their own path in life, from DNA regression to hypnotherapy and everything in between, trying to find out the healing and the Zen that kind of goes along with it. Geraldine is somebody who has been doing this show for almost 8 years now, maybe 7 years now, and it is absolutely incredible to see how she has taken off. You can find her on many documentaries and many television series that have delved into the ET contact side of things, along with the spirituality side of what we talk about the phenomena on a nightly basis. We are just waiting for Geraldine to hook up. She is having some computer issues at this time, so we're just waiting for her to come on in here, because, well, it's her time. It's her time. But I want to remind all of you, while we wait for Geraldine will be one of our special guests that will be attending our big event in Las Vegas next month, May 19th through 21st at the Golden Nugget Casino for the second annual Spaced Out Radio Fan Party. And I tell you, we got quite a list of people that'll be attending this event. I'm just pulling it up here, and I'll tell you, these are our guests that have really, really moved forward in the field, and they all want to spend time with all of you. Yeah, they want to spend time with all of you. Geraldine has finally arrived, so we'll get to her in moments, but I just want to bring out the guest list here. So, of course, Geraldine Orozco is going to be there. Our man Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers and Ghosts of the Great White North is coming. From the Hoodoo Tall documentary, Jurgen Hess and Damien J. Varla Ventura, Bigfoot Rob are going to be there. Tom Whitmore, Science Bob's going to be there. Joe Mergia, Tim Senor, Michael Schratt, Melinda Leslie, Misha Johnson, Jim Goodall. And I think Ben and Joe from the UFO Garage podcast are going to be there. From Cryptid 559, Joe and Javier, Jesus and Javier are going to be there. Random Guy is going to be there. And you never know who else is going to pop in. I got a bunch of people who are like, we may show up at the last minute, but it's a great event. Tickets are only $100 for VIP tickets, $60 per person if you want to join us for the live YouTube show and just hang out with everybody. It's going to be a great time, and I can't wait to see Geraldine there. Let's bring her on in. Geraldine Orozco, my beautiful friend. It is always a good time to have you here on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing? Oh, your mic is not on, my dear. See, we told you she was having a little bit of computer issues right beforehand. Still can't hear you. You look good, though, because I can see you on camera. But we do not have any microphone communication with you. And
Well, how about now?
there you go. There you go. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Sorry, my computer crashed, and it just took me forever to get this up and running again.
That's
So,
okay.
yeah, thank you for your patience. It's so wonderful to be here as always.
Well, I know how to delay. And I was doing the old radio delay there.
Okay, sorry to put you in that position.
Oh, that's all
Yeah,
right.
thank you. Thank you for your
That's all right.
patience.
Geraldine, we're going to get right into it with you tonight because lately we have had a number of people coming on in to talk about whether or not, and I've read it in our comments in our chat rooms, and we've had talked to a number of experiencers lately about hypnotherapy when it comes to ET experiences and just experiences of the paranormal, supernatural in general. Now, you are somebody who does this. You are somebody who is very good at what you do. And I'm curious, how did you get started in the idea of getting into hypnotherapy, and how does it work?
Yeah, hypnotherapy is very, very interesting, and what brought me into doing it was actually my own hypnotherapies, which was my introduction to that whole research around the subconscious mind and the psychology of the phenomena. I guess the psychological aspect of the phenomena. What is it that causes us to have these experiences? And so for me, as you know, my contact experience in 2013 was conscious. It was my waking state. I was awake, completely aware of everything. And so it's not something that I had to remember or recall. But what I wanted to understand was why I didn't know that I had hybrid children prior to that. Why didn't I understand that whole connection? Even though I recognized I had pregnancies when I was not partnered and I had other phenomena that happened to me early on, I still, because I had no idea that this was a thing, I couldn't link those two. So for me, when I got my hypnotherapy for the first time, it opened up deep into my subconscious mind. And this is how it works. Essentially, hypnotherapy accesses the subconscious mind. It brings your brain waves into an alpha, maybe delta wave, in where you are beginning to access deep, profound level of awareness of your mechanisms, in the under layer of your mechanisms. Okay, because usually most of us are made up of survival mechanisms. And usually those patterns of behavior are things that we are constant state of reaction. And we have a category, we have a catalog of known reactions that we kind of apply to our everyday experiences. So hypnotherapy will access the subconscious mind, and it accesses, we were actually made up more of our subconscious mind. Most of our life manifestations, the inputs into this holographic system essentially is mostly from the subconscious. So when you start accessing those memories, you begin to uncover things about you that you may not have been aware. And yet remember that because we are multidimensional, we are constantly absorbing data 360, our entire body. Okay, even things that are behind us that we're not aware, we're actually registering that information through our body. And the body will remember because we have actually more of a holographic memory. And it's kind of like a remote viewing scenario where we can be aware of a space. Everything around you, little things that are around you, are being actually triggered and copied into that database. So hypnotherapy will access those memories. And this is what I used in order to better understand my experience at the age of 5, and earlier on. You can also access these memories through meditation. You can also access these informations because remember that what hypnotherapy does is that it numbs and it sedates essentially the uh, amygdala, your survival mechanisms, survival responses, in order to allow you to enter into these calmer states. Okay, it brings you into REM state where your eyeballs begin to move at a fast, rapid rate, and that begins to access deeper memory. So this is essentially what it's about. And so for ET contact, it's a powerful tool to help people remember some of the experiences that could have been suppressed as a result of PTSD. Sometimes these experiences are so shocking. It's people will check out and they register everything, but it's not at the surface level of the memory because the body doesn't know how to emotionally respond or process those experiences. So it has to kind of compartmentalize them. And that's what we call fragmentation. Okay. And also, there can be a disassociation element in which, and this is also used in a lot of these military abduction experiences, where experiencers become fragmented in order to have alternate personalities, like entire compartmentalized identities. That is something that we find a lot in ET experiences because people begin to uncover they were living on Mars, or they were having experiences on the Pleiades. And remember that we're accessing information that is existing simultaneous to this present moment. So it's really amazing how the mind is multidimensional and we have access to that information. So that's in a nutshell what hypnotherapy is. It's a really powerful tool for healing, deprogramming, reprogramming the mind to allow you access your highest expression, basically.
How accurate is it?
Well, that is very difficult because we are made up of a lot of programs. And in fact, the majority of our lives, we take on a lot of programs in our belief systems that make up our personality, the way that we see the world, the way that we process information. So a lot of times you would have to ask the question, well, how accurate is your identity of yourself and the way that you perceive the world? And it's very hard to say that that's accurate because we all have we can have multiple perceptions of one experience, and your perception can be limited because it's limited by your beliefs and what you know to be true. So when it comes to accuracy, the thing is that you have you have to take it with a grain of salt. And there are also many layers. The more that the person that you're putting under hypnosis has a daily meditation practice and is actively doing shadow work and deprogramming a lot of those false identity aspects, the more core information you can reach through hypnotherapy. But the more layers the person has, the more disconnected they are from themselves. A lot of time, the information that will come up will be things that are in their subconscious, which could be the 10 TV shows that you watch every day. Okay, all of that is embedded in your subconscious mind and your body, because it's temporarily your reality, and you insulate yourself in those realities a lot. It becomes part of your life. This can be influencing the way that you perceive certain experiences. So the purity of the information really does take layers. And in hypnotherapy, you can access those layers, but you have to know how. You have to take the person really, really, really deep in order for them to not be interrupted by those more conscious survival mechanisms that we kind of build.
Okay, so the idea is to open up historically what is hidden inside in those little drawers of memory that we all have built up within the brain. It's like searching for the deep files on your computer that you know are still there, that you know you never erased, but are still functioning deep down there. And Lord knows, we have millions upon millions of memories stored within us from childbirth, which we don't remember, right, until where we are today. How does the mind circumvent certain events, though? Let's say you are an ET contactee, or you had trauma with the paranormal, or let's say you were involved in something, that wasn't paranormal or supernatural, but something traumatic that absolutely changed your or frightened you. I mean, do we store those in different compartments?
Yeah, exactly. So in a way, it's a compartment that is preserving your uh, so basically it's a place it's your self-preservation process. Okay, so the brain has a way, because when we are triggered by experiences that we don't know, unknown, when we experience the unknown, because it's unknown, remember that our brain functions like a filing cabinet. And usually what ends up happening is that we pull the file that best suits the experience that we're having. But when we experience something that's completely not in that filing cabinet, the system doesn't know what to do, and that's where you enter fight, flight, or freeze. So, psychologically, what happens is that it'll compartmentalize and insulate that experience and store it away. This is the subconscious mind, in which it's not easily accessible by the conscious everyday mind, or even from the filing cabinet, because it doesn't know how to categorize that experience, essentially. So it isn't until the person either meditates or on this experience or goes into deep hypnosis that you can even access that memory. And memories are stored in the body through primarily the emotional body. The emotional body is recorded in the nervous system of the body and in muscle memory. Literally, your body will record a memory. Emotionally and physically, parts of your body will tense up, your muscles will tense up, and in the tension of that muscle is essentially the memory, and it becomes a holographic memory that you can trigger. That's why experiencers, for example, if they have a strange smell in the experience, when they smell that smell, if they're in somewhere in some office, or in a public space, it immediately will trigger the memory, and they will be like, oh my god, I just had a flash of an image, a flashback. And then that's when you start kind of recovering some of the memories. You start formulating more of the details. So our senses are actually the trigger points into these memories. And that's what we are utilizing as a trail to find that root memory in the subconscious mind.
Okay. All right. So the subconscious mind that we all have, there are people out there who say, you know what, I can't really get to that area. I don't know where it is. I don't even remember my dreams at night. So, does everybody have this? Can everybody access it, or to some is it closed off?
Yeah, so it really depends on the level of trauma that was imposed as a result of the experience. For people, so this is kind of, it's profound because there's many levels to it, okay? People that have experienced really heavy trauma at a really early age, the body is has learned to suppress a lot of memory. These children will not be able to access what happened with mom or dad. A lot of times there will be major gaps in their childhood where they can't even remember what happened to them. Okay. So imagine if you have that mechanism in dream state. a lot of times dream state, they have really vivid dreams and they remember those dreams because for them it's an escape from the trauma they're experiencing in the daytime. So instead of the waking state memories, they will have a lot of dream state memories. And this is where we travel interdimensionally and we have a lot of these contact experiences. So sometimes this is what happens. Sometimes they will have a memory of a dream, and as we uncover the dream or the interdimensional experience, it begins to uncover the trauma they had as a child. Okay. And this also happens vice versa. Okay. So, for example, if you don't remember your dreams and you don't remember experiences, you might have other memories of moments in your life that are really vivid. Like, for example, for me, I just have this memory ingrained in my brain of being in my parents' bedroom and a little white light coming into the room. And then my memory went blank. Okay. So when I went back to that memory, it opened up an entire world of what was actually happening in that moment. So these are called marker memories, and it can either be experiences in waking state or it can be dream state as well. They will help us uncover them. So, but every human will only access what they're capable of processing. Okay, it's really important to understand that. And in hypnotherapy, it's important that your hypnotherapist never forces you and never leads you into any kind of memory or experience, because the brain, the mind is fragile. You know, we don't want to implement memories, and we also don't want to stir up any trauma that will not be managed and integrated properly. So if you're looking for a hypnotherapist, my number one suggestion is to make sure that your hypnotherapist, in addition to being a hypnotherapist, also has the ability to work on emotional traumas and help you integrate that. Whether it's energetically is really important to understand energetic knowledge, because emotions are energy and frequency. So a lot of people that have unresolved emotions, they can actually wake up dormant pain in the body or cause imbalances in sleep patterns, eating patterns. All kinds of things can happen if the emotion that is triggered is not fully integrated. So I hear this a lot with people that have ET contacts experiences pop up in these hypnotherapy sessions, and then they don't know how to integrate them properly because their hypnotherapist isn't aware of the phenomena. So it's just important to note that.
Okay, so how can one help reintegrate their own thoughts through hypnotherapy? What are we trying to gain from that?
Yeah, so hypnotherapy is essentially a tool for practicing awareness. It's a deeper tool for deepening your awareness and the connection with yourself, with the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is what co-creates your reality. Your subconscious mind is the one that creates the vibrational frequency that puts you in resonance with life experiences that you're having every single day, the relationships you're attracting, the emotions and scenarios that you're triggered by throughout your day. So it's really huge. Okay, so this kind of integrative work, essentially, when you start working with the subconscious mind, you can really change your life. And so what that means is that you have an opportunity of finding out what are the emotions patterns that you're playing out that cause you suffering, that cause you the inability to manifest, move forward, move out of depression, change your life, find a new partner, get a new job. All of these things, they affect every aspect of your life. So the emotional process of transmutation of these emotions, all of the low emotions that are created by deep traumas, essentially are the key to liberation of the human, to integration. Integration means to become whole. It means that everything that you thought was separate from you, any experience that you wanted to separate or compartmentalize, any kind of judgment on yourself or past experiences that you've had, usually we fragment ourselves. And when you're fragmented, it's really difficult to find coherence and to have congruency in your choices, your actions, and the way that you feel about yourself. So this kind of disassociation with yourself at an early age is something that is just okay.
Let us go to break here at the bottom of the hour. One of our favorites, Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You. Geraldine will also be attending our Las Vegas fan party May 19th through 21st. So come meet her and all of us in Vegas. Second half hour is next. I am very much looking forward to hanging out with you.
Yeah, me too. I'm so sad that I missed you last time you came. But how was the conference, by the way? I haven't heard anything
It was
about
all
it.
right. It was all right.
Yeah.
It was a typical Lorien conference, which solid guests, solid people, intimate
Good.
and about 150, 180 people there. It was good.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Were you here when it was pouring rain, like every single day? I can't remember.
No, that usually starts on the Sunday. Uh, you know,
Okay.
yeah, it
Yeah.
usually starts on the Sunday, so that's where we got a little wet. That's okay.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, but I'll see you in Vegas. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to that.
And your whole job is to make sure you got gorgeous hair because people are already commenting on it tonight.
Ah, okay, good. Today's the messiest hair day, but that's great. I'm glad to hear that. I can take care of that.
Oh, I know you can. I know you can. Well, it's good to see you.
Same.
And what was I going to say? I need you to write down. Do you have a pen and paper?
Yeah, right
I
here.
need you to write down vidiq.com.
Okay.
That'll help the back end of your YouTube channel. It'll help it take off.
Oh, really? What is this? Tell me.
It is an algorithm. It helps with the algorithms of everything. So
Really? Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to check it out. Are you
Yeah.
using this?
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
cool. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, it really helps promote the algorithms in the back end. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Boost your views and subscribe. Interesting.
It's
Okay.
very good. Very good.
Which
Easy.
are you using? Are you using 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4?
I use the $10 one.
Okay. Cool. Very cool. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple people with a couple million subscribers about this, and they're using it. So
Are you serious? Wow,
yeah.
look at all the. Thank you.
No
I will
problem.
do that. Yeah, I can't actually believe how many subscribers I moved up to now. We have 9,700, which is amazing to me. You know?
Catching on up.
Yeah.
Catching on up. I would say since we started using that, we are probably up 5,000 subscribers.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
Yeah.
That's
Then
amazing.
then right before Christmas, we hit a bad streak where all of a sudden this new music company came out of nowhere and started hitting us for copyright infringement, and that just froze everything.
Oh my gosh.
Froze everything. And now this process takes about 6 to 10 weeks to kick in.
Wow.
So
Very cool. Thank you so much. I can't wait to try it and see what happens. I do need help and focus on that. So, yeah.
yeah, we'll talk soon, and I'll help you.
Yeah.
Don't know everything, but I'll pass on what I do know. Yeah. How many ears are plugged?
How come?
I don't know. I had a cavity filled for my first cavity in like a quarter century.
Oh my gosh.
I had a cavity filled on the last tooth on my bottom left side, and they say it takes about a week or so to finally start feeling normal, and it's hurting.
Oh my God. I hope it heals soon. Yeah.
Oh God, it better not be a root canal or anything like that.
Yeah.
Maggie, thank you so much for kicking off the super chat tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support, along with the amazing Kira, who will be in Las Vegas as well, making sure that I am a good boy. Hi, Eddie Petch. How are you? Mm-hmm. We got 30 seconds. Yes, I forgot to mention the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Hello, Toe Tag. Hello, Scabby Scabby. Yeah, I gotta maybe talk to my dentist again. Hi, Dove Song. Welcome to SOR chat. Thank you for the hair comment. And here we go with the second half hour right now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine Orozco is here from Bay Area Meditation in San Francisco, California for The Spiritual You, as she joins us once a month for this wonderful show that we delve into our Zen and our Chi. Her website is GeraldineOrozco.com. Geraldine, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Oh, you're so kind and nice all the time. I wonder if anytime you just say, damn it, I got to do this show again. Why did I commit to this? That strange and odd Dave guy.
No, it's an honor to be here, Dave, and to be considered even to, have this slot. It's just so great. And our beautiful audience listeners as well. It's like a community. We kind of created a community here. It's great to see familiar faces.
We did. Yeah. And the audience is beautiful. Even Super Duke for World Bigfoot Radio is beautiful. I'm going to serenade him later. But that's later on in the show in hour 3. Geraldine, right before the break, we were talking about hypnotherapy. How does it work when it comes to people who have had extracurricular or extraterrestrial, not extracurricular, extraterrestrial or supernatural experiences?
Yeah, so essentially, it's important to pick the right hypnotherapist. Number one, you have to trust who you're working with. You really need to trust. Without that trust, you will not be receptive. And remember that hypnotherapy and any other healing modality, you are doing the healing. You are the one in charge of where and what you can access. It's your brain, it's your subconscious mind, it's your memory. And your body, if it doesn't feel safe with its own self, it'll also suppress memories that it thinks you will not be able to process. So this is an important thing to remember. Hypnotherapy is best when we completely surrender and we go on a journey of exploration of the unknown. And our imagination is one of the most powerful tools for hypnotherapy because it allows us to create imageries of the things that we're going to explore. Usually people want to control what they're experiencing, and that will block their ability from seeing things. Okay, so especially when we use hypnotherapy for experiencers, it's important that the hypnotherapist doesn't guide you or lead you into something. So for example, when they're asking you about the contact experience, they don't say, when the UFO came and took you into the craft and started to examine you, what happened next? Okay, because the mind, the way that the subconscious mind works in the brain is that the intelligence will want to fill in, especially being in that hypnagogic state. which is where we can access a lot of dream imagery. And again, as I mentioned, if we don't do deprogramming work, it's going to pull everything that's at the surface of your subconscious mind and of your conscious mind. And unfortunately, because we don't practice clearing of the mind or some kind of mastery over our thought process, usually the monkey mind is the one that's, inputting all kinds of information. Okay, so it's important to train and practice meditation before you get hypnotherapy. Help you at least meditate vipassana, which means that you bring the mind into a 0 point, and from there allowing everything to kind of emerge naturally. And at first, what usually happens is that people start to speak gibberish at first sometimes, okay? They'll say, oh, I see a tricycle and a red ball. And they're not going to understand that if they continue to focus on that red ball and that tricycle, that initial cover memory that doesn't make sense for what you're trying to figure out, it will take you into a stream of consciousness that will open up other memories for you. But the brain has to go through this process of kind of tricking itself out of being in a state of control. Okay, so that's what a skilled hypnotherapist helps you do in order to access the core root of your main informations. Okay, so this is what we want to do. So in hypnotherapy, especially for contact experience, the way I work with my clients is I have them make a list of questions that they want to ask, and in the first 30 minutes of the session, we go through like a little interview. We review the questions and we build the hypnotherapy so that we know what we want to address and what might come up. Okay, so in the hypnotherapy, I will usually take you back to that memory, and the way that I take you back will be progressive. Most people will usually access past lives first, and the reason why is because the way that our brain works is that it accesses the most strongest frequency in your subconscious mind first, and these are frequencies that exist simultaneously in your field. So these are memory bubbles. Imagine it like memory bubbles. In the subconscious realm, there's no timeline. There's no linear timeline. So you're not accessing information from the past or the future. It's really just pockets of information that exist and are available based on your level of consciousness right now. So a lot of times when you begin to access a memory, let's say that you had missing time, you go back to that memory, and as you dive into that memory, it begins to access a world of information. And usually we will use remote viewing for you to remote view your experience, and the levels of accuracy in these processes are incredible. They're incredible. Things that sometimes with some of my clients, we will fact check them later together. And the level of accuracy in these things are just amazing. Like the location they were at, people that were there that they didn't remember consciously. And we then later researched them and interviewed them. They were able to put a piece of the puzzle to some experiences that they were having, or a UFO sighting or a missing time. So we begin to kind of utilize the field as a resource of information to help us make sense of some of these experiences. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're kind of like researchers. Yeah.
That is awesome. The idea that hypnotherapy can help bring back certain memories regarding, encounters that are very personal, very emotional. Do we have control of our emotions when we revisit those encounters?
Yeah, so it's really special. Then another reason why a skilled hypnotherapist is necessary, because a skilled hypnotherapist will be able to assess immediately if you begin to raise your breathing or your heart rate, or you begin to become uncomfortable, because sometimes you will jump into one of these memories and it's like boom, shocking. An alien is right in front of you, or there's some weird thing in front of you that you're not ready for. So you might go into a panic. You might come, because you're essentially, depending on how suggestive you are, you'll be reliving the experience more vividly. Okay. And so what we need to do is pull you out and make it look as if you're looking at a screen. And you can actually see the entire experience by just imagining that you're looking at a TV screen, or you're in a drive-in theater. This is something that we use as a therapeutic imagery. You're in a drive-in theater, you're in your car, you're safe, and you're watching the film of the experiences that happen to you. So you're not tuning in emotionally. Your body won't tune in and have the emotional reactions, but you'll be able to gain the information of what happened. Okay, so this is emotional barriers that we create in order for you not to have to physically relive the experiences. And you know, I'm really glad we're talking about this. There's so many like parts to this that's important, but the human has to be able to process the emotional stress, because a lot of these experiences, when they happen to us in waking state, we're terrified because it's the unknown, right? We're like, oh my God, what on earth could have happened to me? I feel that, I had a mark on my chest, or I had a mark in my belly. They must have done something horrible. They must have, stuck something in there and done something. And when they have an hypnotherapy, they begin to see themselves on the table. They begin to see the beings around, and the instruments around their body. And at first, the human will come into panic because they don't understand what is happening there. But what I discover is that a lot of times in the process of remote viewing calmly and from a third person perspective, or a viewer, a faraway viewer, they begin to realize that a lot of these experiences aren't really as terrifying as we thought initially. Okay. You begin to understand some of these are healings. Sometimes you're on the table and you're having some procedure done, and later the person heals from some strange stomach issue. This happened to me as well. It happens to a lot of experiencers. In the hybridization program, some women have become pregnant in waking state, not being able to become pregnant for years, have become pregnant in waking state as a result of these dreams and experiences. So all kinds of things can happen. It's really important to stay kind of objective to these experiences, not apply so much meaning immediately, or define or judge what's occurring. And for that, it's necessary to train the emotions even before you enter into these. Okay, so it's never something to fear. It's important that your hypnotherapist knows, so that you don't experience re-trauma, because sometimes if the human is very unaware of their emotions, or has no emotional control, they can re-traumatize themselves when they see this experience. They don't pause, they don't calm. So this is important as well in healing. It has to be integrated and healed. And usually hypnotherapy is really powerful in providing the imagery, the emotional support for them not to become re-traumatized. It's a really powerful tool.
All right, Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You continuing here on Spaced Out Radio. The idea that you can learn about your ET contact and learn about your regressions, are you able to block memories that you don't want? Okay, let's say you got the bad side of the ETs that you
Yes.
don't want to see, or maybe you don't want to see the hybridization part of everything.
Absolutely. In fact, I use hypnotherapy for clients that are trying to, everything from phobias. Okay, you're scared of spiders, you're scared of the small rooms, you have claustrophobia, any kind of phobia, any kind of fear, anxieties that are blocking you from expanding into your best self, allowing you to get sleep. Some contactees haven't slept for years because of their experiences, because they have been traumatized as a result of experience that happened at 3:33 in the morning. So now they can never sleep before 3 or 4 in the morning. Okay. So these really impact your life in a very severe way. And so we have to, in hypnotherapy, we can utilize this technique to desensitize you from the item or the event that is traumatizing you. And we do that in many different techniques. A lot of neuro-linguistic techniques are utilized in this, and imagery, and also many techniques in the desensitization process. Sorry, I can never say that word. But essentially, we are able to reduce pain. You can do pain management, you can do trauma management, and it's not so much of suppressing the emotion or the memory. Okay, it's about neutralizing You neutralize your reaction to the experience. This is what we're doing. And we do it in many different ways. We can imagine everything from a lever going down to an image shifting in the perception that we're having. One of the most powerful techniques for healing is the broadening of your perspective, or the shifting of your perspective of a traumatizing experience. It can change your life completely, because you begin to understand you don't need to be attached to your identity. The suffering, the victim, the person that was helpless in that experience now becomes empowered. You change the narrative of the experience that happened. And all of these tools are valid and powerful for you, because the most important thing is the way that trauma works in the body. When we have stressful situations, we release chemicals in the body, okay, that create stress, like cortisol and anxiety, and those create inflammation. So, over time, people get illnesses as a result of these kinds of stressing situations. So what we want to do is we want to regulate the body, and the body doesn't know the difference between imagination and truth. You can show a person a traumatizing film, and their body will have the same physical biochemical response as it would if it were in the present experiencing it. Okay, so the brain doesn't know. So we get to use these tools to help us deprogram the trauma and reprogram with something more positive, more beneficial for the body, in order to come into a homeostasis. That's how you heal, when you bring the body into a homeostasis.
Okay. When we are going back in time to figure out what is going on within our own ET contact, do we see the aliens? Do we relive exactly what's happening, or are we just viewing it from like a third party?
You are reliving it. You are reliving it, because remember that time is not linear. You are tuning into, okay, so the way that we work is, we have in our field, in the morphogenetic field, and in the field of our body, the organism, the hologram of this organism, it stores memories like little bubbles. You can imagine little tiny bubbles of events that are charged with emotional data. The emotional data in those bubbles are interconnected to physical responses, psychological responses, and interconnected with other experiences that exist and match this simultaneously. So when we are in hypnotherapy, or when we are accessing these memories, we are literally, in a way, we are leaving the body. Our awareness changes the brain wave that allows you to spin the vortex of your energetic field in order to leave the body and access these dimensional points of yourself that are a match vibrationally in which these experiences exist. So it's not so much that the physical is experiencing, but in a way, your astral, or an aspect, non-physical aspect of yourself, is reliving that experience which exists in that bubble memory. So this is how you can heal the body, by accessing some of these memories. You can release illness. If you heal that fractal of yourself that is essentially suspended in that memory, especially when it's trauma, you can heal the body, and you can begin to change your life in timelines. Okay, so it's not like you're changing the past. It's not like you time travel to the past. You're in the present moment, editing your physical memory, the epigenetic results in your body. You can edit in vivo and heal the body. So anyway, let me go back to your question. Yes, we are seeing the beings in the present moment. I want to also remind you what I said earlier, that we also have a lot of filters. Okay, so our experiences, something really interesting that happens in hypnotherapy, that we the deeper we go, the more true the experience will reveal itself. If you're at a surface level of hypnotherapy, you might see things as your conscious mind fabricates for you. Okay, let me give you an example. And this works both ways. A lot of ET experiences will have a father, a mother figure, a Jesus Christ figure that shows up in the room. And this is what the memory is. Jesus Christ was in my room. Okay, so as you go into hypnotherapy, first you're going to meet the Jesus Christ being. And then as you go deeper into the hypnotherapy, you realize that actually it's not Jesus Christ, it's another being. It's another being that's actually there. And the deeper you go into the meditation, you begin to understand who you are actually interacting with. Doesn't mean any of these are specifically true, because in our human brain, our human experience is very limited, and we can only see things and we only apply form to things as far as our brain can process something for us to process. There are some beings that have no form. They're just light, or sometimes they're these creatures that we couldn't even fathom. But the human mind would essentially self-destruct if it doesn't have a good emotional foundation or a little more plasticity in its ability to handle these foreign forms. So again, self-preservation, the intelligence of the body, is always going to choose preservation over leading you into some unknown place, even if it's the truth. Okay, there's an intelligence. So those of you that are considering or afraid of hypnotherapy, don't be afraid, because there's an intelligence of the body that always allows you to see only what you're capable of processing and seeing, psychologically, emotionally, and physically. Okay, so
Okay, we got 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You continuing on. We'll finish up this hour in hypnotherapy. How can this be healing for people? How does it heal?
it's profoundly healing for many reasons. We talked about the plasticity. And plasticity of our brain, we actually create through meditation by growing the gray matter, okay, through mindfulness. So imagine that kind of impact that actually strengthens the structure of emotional processing in the body. So if you can, gain that much from just meditation, when you go into the subconscious mind and heal yourself from major traumas, it changes the way you see yourself and the way you see life. It's a major tool for transformation. You can stop smoking, you can lose weight, you can heal your body from illnesses, you can reduce pain if you have chronic pain, and you can reframe the way that you experienced traumatic experience. So it's really powerful, really empowering.
And does that healing last a lifetime,
A
or is
lifetime.
it something, that is temporary?
It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. And of course, it's increments. So you have to continue reinforcing. So what we're doing is we're breaking neural pathways. Remember those little neural pathways that we reinforce with repetition. Okay. So if we have a trauma that we keep reinforcing and we keep repeating over and over again, that's going to be a really strong program. So as long as it takes you to break that program by not repeating, that's how long you can reprogram for life. And this is how you create a new neural pathway that is more supportive and conduit for your healing and expansion. So it is a life-changing experience.
Yeah, and as someone who's gone through it with you, it's also a very groggy experience after.
It
It's very
can, yes, it can be
tiring.
absolutely.
It is
Um,
tiring.
yeah. Uh, it, excuse me. It depends on your level of consciousness. If you are very disconnected from the body most of your waking state, you probably won't remember anything that you just went through in the hypnotherapy. But if you cultivate more connection, if you cultivate more of a calm mental state, more than likely those two brain states will merge, because when you meditate, you're in alpha state, so you're already in a state of awareness, you're already in a mindfulness state. So it kind of merges those gaps that otherwise would be larger. So it just depends. It depends on how you compartmentalize information in your own waking state.
Okay, well, with that awakened state that we are able to feel groggy about, I mean, I know for me it took a couple of days for me to actually feel like I was human again. Like
Okay.
there was a lot of stuff that was coming out.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you something. I bet you that you can actually be really productive and really focused in those days that you are not as human. Because remember that human is very like reactionary, very involved, very engaged. Sometimes we're scattered, we're stressed, and we kind of call that human, right? But what I notice a lot with my clients is that in the days after the healing, they are really grounded, really centered, really focused, and they're more calm. They're a little bit more neutral, and it can be very powerful and productive. The idea is that we prolong those neutral states. Okay, I'll get a break.
When we return, how do we get rid of entities that have attached to us? And much more with Geraldine Orozco in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine's website, GeraldineOrozco.com. She will also be hanging out with us in Las Vegas, May 19th through 21st. Come on down and join us. All right, we are clear. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to go get some ibuprofen for my teeth.
Oh, okay, sweetie. Yeah.
I'll be right back.
All right, me too.
Put you in the green room here, hon. Be right back, people. Old Davy is back. Those should kick in at any time. And yeah, I'm going to have to go to the dentist, get them to recheck that. All right. Geraldine's ready. She can pop back in. There she is. We got 30 seconds. Thank you to Maggie, Kira, and Cat Chaser for the amazing super chats. Amazing super chats. So thank you so much for the love. And of course, big thank you to everybody who's new, who hit subscribe. If you haven't already, ring that bell. Show us the love back. And I took Advil. Gen A, Advil. I'm an Advil guy. Here we go. Second hour.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Second hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Geodesy. Geodesy is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with our good friend Geraldine Orozco from Bay Area Meditation in San Francisco, California, where she comes in once a month for this spiritual you. And we love Geraldine around here. Her website, GeraldineOrozco.com. And Geraldine, thank you so much for joining us again. We very much appreciate you.
Thank you so much once again for having me. What a gift it is to be here.
Now, one of the videos that you did on your own YouTube channel recently was about removing entities. You did it about, a few years ago, that is, but it's still one of your more popular videos. It caught my attention because we've never really talked about that, the symptoms, the detection, and everything that kind of goes along with that. So first off, how does one get an entity attachment?
Yeah, so entities essentially are fractals of our own self that we come into resonance with. Okay, so let me this goes a little deeper. So we get entities attached to our body when we enter in resonance to something of similar an attachment. Now, attachments are parasitic exchanges of energy. Okay, so when something attaches, it's something that requires another organism in order for it to survive. So this parasitic exchange is working both with the host of the parasitic experience and the parasite that is attaching to the host, which means that the host has to be parasitic in order for attachment to attach to it. Okay, so how does that work? When we go into deep depression, when we go into fear, very fear states, when we go into feelings of helplessness, any of these low vibration frequency emotions, we enter into the realm of parasitic exchanges. because, in other words, we are rejecting our own personal power in a way that we seek external to fulfill this. We forget that we are the source of our own empowerment, and we begin to seek externally. And your seek for the external gratification, fulfillment, satiation may not be a conscious. It'll be something that is subconscious. So these can be relationships. These can be abusive behaviors. These can be drugs, things that are creating escapist mechanisms in your life. And we also create tears energetically because of this kind of low frequency. Basically stagnates the rotation of your vortex. Okay, so we're vortices. Our bodies, our multidimensional body functions like a vortex. We have a low vortex and we have a high vortex at the top of the body, and they create a shape that we know as a Merkaba. Okay, so just imagine that shape, the Merkaba. And so our bodies are made up of these vortices. When we come into low emotions, our root chakras are wide open, and that creates low frequency bands of waves. And it means that they're slow, it's sluggish. So your entire field becomes slow moving. It becomes slow moving because we're holding on to heavy emotions that we're not processing. This is how we end up being parasitic, that we don't properly process emotions. We don't properly process something. Okay, so this kind of lack of emotional flow, energetic flow, awareness, creates tears, rips in your multidimensional body. Every chakra is a field of your body. So wherever you're not moving energy, you're tearing holes in your field. So these low frequency chakras and bodies essentially open space for parasitic exchanges of the same frequency. So let's say that you enter into a haunted house. You are terrified. You pretend you're not terrified, but you're terrified. And what happens is that all of the things that trigger terror within you come to surface and become a really powerful magnet to another entity attachment that matches that. Essentially, it comes into your space and it feeds. It feeds off of your own fear. This is the exchange that's occurring. And it's vice versa. You need the parasite. Believe it or not, we subconsciously require that to validate the need for our own emotions. And the attachment feeds off of your fear because it finds comfort and a home in you. Okay, so essentially we can hold on to these parasites, and I want to mention parasites can be entities, which means manifestations of form, identity, shapes that come attached into our space. It can be illnesses. Okay, even illnesses have sometimes entities. I'll give you an example in something that happened last week in my hypnotherapies with my client.
Sure.
She has shingles. Okay. And when we went into the shingles, we brought the shingle to the surface of the subconscious mind, and the shingle spoke to us. And the shingles essentially was this dead being that was hit by a car at a mortuary that this person went into a couple weeks ago. Okay, so she goes into the mortuary because she was there for a funeral and picked up this entity, and boom, she got shingles. Now, shingles has a psychological, subconscious, somatic aspect as well. The fear of rejection, abandonment, and the person that passed away made her feel deep feelings of abandonment. She felt alone. Okay, so this created an environment in her body for her to be a match to the entity, which triggered emotions, and both of them are surviving off the illness. So when we removed that, the person healed within 2 days. Shingles gone from the body. This is not just imagination. This is the truth, you know. So, and there's many examples like this. So entities, it doesn't mean that we always have an entity in the body. Again, because of the way that our brain functions in the human realm, we can really create all kinds of entities or identities to the things that are occurring to us. And it's healthy, and it's more fluid for us to try to remove ourselves from creating identities and attachments to form and personalities as much as possible and come into a neutral state, especially for healing. Okay, so these are what they are. And I also want to mention that entities and attachments are attaching to us multi-layered. So if you do go to a healer, make sure that they're aware of that, because sometimes people will go to healings and they'll be like, okay, we'll take the attachment out, but they haven't gotten to the root of it. And there's always deep traumas and deep memories that are actually creating a home for these entities within our field. So we have to be able to release them and remove them.
Okay, so does that just go for paranormal type of entities, or does this go way off into the fourth, fifth, sixth dimensions where if you're astral traveling, entities can attach to you?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. So this is another thing that has to do with energetic hygiene. So let's take it to the next level. Remember that I mentioned that your body is functioning like a Merkaba. You are a vortex. Now, the faster you learn and the more you learn how to master your vortex spin, which changes brain waves, and it changes how you leave the body in this process of implosion that allows you to leave the body, you become a match to higher vibrational frequencies. If you're a person that is constantly around death, constantly, people, for example, that hang out in cemeteries or are always in these dark, dark places, your vibrational frequency is a match to that. So you have to do heavy clearing of your energetic space after going to these places. It's not a joke. People that accumulate clutter in their homes, especially antiques, old things, are creating environments, essentially a vortex in which a lot of heavy energy is in your space. So these kinds of people, when they leave the body in dream state, they're not going to get very far, because their vibrational frequency is constantly being nourished at a certain level. Usually, people that are in ghost or mediums, for example, that are constantly speaking with those that cross over but are in between states, usually between 7th and 10th dimensional plane. Okay? People that are trying to go a little higher than that, 10th and 13th dimensional plane, are moving at a faster rate. Okay, biophysically, bioelectrically, you are spinning at a faster rate. So if you learn how to master that, you can navigate all kinds of dimensions, speak with different beings, experience all kinds of things. And it's important that you do. It's important that you train lucid dreaming. It's important that you learn how to have astral projection, and that you can control, more importantly, that you know how to navigate these out of body experiences. That way you can choose what you're interacting with. Because otherwise, for example, those of you that have very traumatic reptilian, draconian experiences, again, those are low frequency, which are encoded in our DNA. We are all made up of all these ranges of frequency. And in our awakening process, we're going to be waking up states. So you're going to start with dark stuff first. You have to be able to graduate from that dark stuff in order to access higher stuff. Now, some people are in the high stuff already, and they also have to go into the dark stuff. Okay? So we all have to master all dimensional layers. And the secret is maintaining neutrality and as a high vibrational frequency as possible, so that nothing attaches to you, or that you don't attach to an identity either. People that begin to channel beings, at first, amazing infinite consciousness comes through, and then essentially they're like, you have a deadline. You have to create a book, or you're going to get an illness. I've heard these things, okay? Some Arcturian being says this to a person. So this is where the frequency begins to get stuck. Okay, so we have to always try to be fluid, continue moving. You are everything and nothing simultaneously. Remember that for those of you that are travelers of interdimensional travel. The laws of physics are that you have free will only when you know that you do. When you know that you have it. And the way to access free will is to become nothing and all at the same time. You attach to nothing, and you keep a neutral perspective in all these dimensions. This is kind of the key to that.
Awesome. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You continuing here on Spaced Out Radio with attachments. Are they easy to get rid of? Are they easy to detach themselves? How do we do it?
They are as easy as you want them to be, and what that means is that you have to do some shadow work. Okay, so it is hand in hand with your spiritual evolution. The more you learn how to trust yourself in the unknown, the more you learn how to be empowered in vulnerability, the more you are able to transcend these limiting beliefs, perceptions, blockages, entities, and attachments from your body. Because what you will discover is that you are the master of your body and you're the master of your experience. And absolutely nothing has more power over you than you. And that's something very important, that in this illusion, this holographic illusion of the physical and non physical, we can really not believe that. We can be like, oh no, I'm being attacked by government. I've had that happen to me. I've had this belief and this thought myself. I'm being attacked by psyops. There's reptilians, draconians. We can have all of these things, but the fact is that it's a frequency game. If you shift your frequency, you literally become invisible. The energy moves through you instead of hits you. This is how it works. This is how Tai Chi functions, martial arts. This is how energy practices work. When you learn how to master and redirect life force, you become invincible, essentially, to anything. So this happens in the subconscious mind, in dream states, as well as in waking state. And it's a law that we have to understand. And it's the key to healing and letting go of these attachments.
Awesome. Awesome. I have had attachments to me,
Yeah,
and they are not fun.
yeah,
Sometimes I have found that Reiki has actually cleared a lot of that up.
yes.
Have you noticed that as well?
Yes, absolutely. I practice medical qigong, but it's the same. You're working with energy, with light force, and so again, it's an energy game, right? I'm glad that you brought this up, because I can also remove entities from people energetically. They can look like a random object. They can look like a banana in somebody's space. Okay, I know that sounds funny, but essentially, people walk around with all kinds of clutter in their field. And so we can remove them. You can remove them from your own body. You can imagine sending it down to the center of the earth. Remember, you're a vortex. Or you can send it up, out into the universe, into the cosmos, neutralizing these blockages, these low frequency densities that have become crystallized in your space. You can neutralize out of your body. And people begin to feel healthy, have energy, heal their body. I mean, it's amazing, the power of this work. So yeah, and you can also do it for distant healing. There's plenty of research and peer-reviewed, even experiments that have been done on the power of Reiki and healing and the intention of pranic energy work. So it's very powerful.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's get to some audience questions here.
Yeah,
They are starting to build up.
love that.
Deb is wondering, when you do your sessions with clients, are they on video?
Absolutely, yes. And the purpose for the recording of the sessions is that it's important for the person to listen to the hypnotherapy after their session, because um, most people, because of disconnect, traumas, whatever reason, will not consciously remember what they experienced in this hypnotherapy. And we begin to channel in hypnotherapy. So even the words that we're saying are holding a certain vibrational frequency. Wave genetics, if you guys are familiar with that, okay? These frequency holds activations and initiations for the human, because they begin to speak in a way that will wake up the consciousness of the individual that's listening to it. It can be something as simple as them traveling to another planet, seeing themselves on another planet, and then they remember what they were doing in that planet. People that speak in the hypnotherapy is only a 10% of the things that they're experiencing. Most of the time, they go into these incredible, detailed experiences, and they can't possibly, elaborate everything that they're seeing. But when they listen to the recording, it will re-trigger the memories. And even in meditation, you'll be able to access even more information for your own personal integration after. So yes, it's important that people work with that recording later on. It will re-hypnotize them, essentially.
Beautiful. Let's go to Core Love. Do you know about Kelonic science or the freedom teachings?
No, I'm not familiar with that. No, sorry.
All right. Pete wants to know, I am paranoid I have an attachment. Please help. So I guess he wants to know how he would know if he does have one.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, if you believe you have an attachment, then you have an attachment. Because um, you see, in reality, attachments are just our own personal words or way to describe stagnant energy in our field. Okay. So if you feel that you have something that is influencing your mood, your emotions subconsciously, creating illness and disharmony and chaos in your life, it's important for you to address the root. Okay, the root of why we took this on. So you can access that either in your own meditation, go into your body. Where's the attachment? When you think of the attachment, what part of your body tenses up, or what sensations come into your body? Focus on that part of the body, and from there, the more you focus on it, you'll have emotions and sensations that begin to become triggered. Focus on those and try to get to the root. You'll have all kinds of memories coming up. Take your time to visit and look at these memories in order for you to get to the root of where you picked up this entity, or where it'll take you back to simultaneous timelines, the entity timeline and also your own experience where you picked it up. Okay, so just be aware, to be mindful of what you're tuning into, and the idea is to be able. Okay, so how do you remove it? Let me quickly tell you this. Entities, um, because they're fractals of our own self, they are separate. They have become separate from the source. And in order to heal it and remove it to the body, essentially what we want to do, because we are alchemists, we are white alchemists of life force, we want to help redirect this lost, fractalized aspect of ourselves back to source. So what you're going to visualize is you're going to visualize a vortex of white light. You are a vortex. It's basically a thread of your own vortex that you create in order to pick up this entity and invite it. You're going to lovingly and compassionately show it unconditional love. That's what white light is. And because this entity is so usually it can be the person that got hit by a car, abandoned by the mother. Those are the entities. They are abandoned souls, abandoned aspects. So we have to lovingly move it into the white light where it can find a feeding source that reconnects it back to itself in order to integrate. Because right now it's feeding off you. Okay, and you don't even have enough to feed it because you yourself are at a low vibrational frequency. You would have to raise your frequency really high in order to transmute this entity. So as you allow it to leave your space into that white light, it is meeting itself. That's what we do. We meet ourselves. We remember ourselves. And it can detach from your body completely. Make sure that when you remove this from your body, you're removing every last thread, because entities are like octopus. Essentially, they have many little threads that connect to many layers of your body, chakras and field. So make sure that you're aware of that as you are removing it, okay? And to end the healing, you want to bring white light into your body and saturate the parts of your body that you have taken, you cleared out, neutralized. Come into high vibration emotion like love immediately to seal the healing. Okay, and you want to maintain that vibrational frequency as long as you can.
All right, Geraldine, we got you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, and a ton of audience questions lined up for you. So that'll
All
go
right,
the distance.
we'll go quickly.
Yeah, Geraldine's website is GeraldineOrozco.com. And she joins us each and every month for the Spiritual You. And she will be joining us at our Las Vegas party May 19th through 21st at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas for the second annual fan party. You get your tickets down by going to our website, spacedoutradio.com. We'll be right back. What you drinking there? That looks good.
This is a green juice that I got right before our show tonight. It's basically kale, a bunch of veggies, dandelion, spinach, kale, all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
yummy. What are you drinking? Are you drinking anything?
Well, I'm drinking British Columbia's finest water.
Ooh, beautiful. Hey, how are those? Oh my gosh, I have to tell you something that happened to me the other day. The other day, I woke up to my window completely open, my shades, my blinds completely open. I had different clothes on, and I had a sore throat as if I went outside, and my feet were dirty. This happened 4 days ago.
What the hell happened to you?
Oh my gosh, it was really, really, really interesting. I really, it
You
hasn't
had
happened in
you
a
haven't
long
had
time.
you haven't had dirty feet since you were like 7.
I haven't had 30 feet waking up in the morning since 2013. That's, yeah,
Wow.
so that was really, really interesting.
What were you in? Like, what were you wearing?
I mean, yeah, okay, so I sleep with like 4 sweaters on. So I was wearing like something completely different, which was so strange. And when I woke up in the morning and I look in my window, because my bed is in front of the window, it was like the sun shining super bright. And I was like, what on earth? I never sleep with my window open. I mean, it was wide open, it was the strangest thing. So definitely think that there's something going on there.
That see, that's where, like, I haven't had that happen, but I know people who have, where they've waken up or
Yeah.
woken up with someone else's clothing on,
Oh.
and that that is just trippy,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, what was going on? Now, I don't have any missing shirts, so I know it's not mine.
It's not yours, no. No,
Unless
no.
unless it has something to do with spaced out radio on it, it's not mine.
That's
Then
cool.
again, then again, one of my T-shirts would look like a dress on you.
Oh God. Really? No. Come on. Yeah,
Trust me,
no.
trust me on that one. But seriously, that just trips me out. Just trips me out.
Yeah, it was really weird.
I keep getting haunted by my Sasquatch site.
Oh, interesting. Oh, the one
Uh,
that you had last time, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I just I can't like, I think about it every day of getting out there, and I'm gonna try
Yeah.
this weekend. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you
try.
gotta get out there.
Well, the problem is the foot and a half of snow, 2 feet of snow that's still out there. I still
Right.
have a I still have a foot and a half of snow in my backyard.
Oh my God. So you're still not done with the snow. How is the aurora? Are you guys still seeing aurora?
Um, no, it hasn't been out in a week or so.
Hmm. Okay.
It is. I'll show you the last ones here. Hold on. Where are the last ones? Um, this was over my house on March 20th.
Oh my God. It's like pink.
Yeah, doing a low power mode there. Yeah, that was right over top of my house.
Wow, Dave. I've never seen it pink and purple like this. Is that common?
Not over my place.
I wonder why different colors.
Just the way it is
That
sometimes.
looks sublime. Oh my God. It's so beautiful.
This one I loved. Kind of like
Wow.
angel swings.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. You're so blessed. How
Yeah.
beautiful.
And it was gorgeous that night because you could see the stars right through it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
What a dream.
My favorite one this year that I got a couple of them. This is one of my favorites. This was over my roof.
Whoa.
Yeah. Kind of looks like old Devil's Tower.
Oh, yes, it does.
And where's that
It
other one?
reminds me
This
how a spacecraft looks. You know, a
yeah,
spacecraft looks has these colors.
this is one of my favorites.
Oh my God, look at those colors.
Yeah. That was
Wow.
Incredible.
That is
Just
incredible.
incredible. Yeah.
Have you tried filming them? Does it pick up on camera
I
at all?
know, like on my phone, it's not picking up. I wish it
Oh,
was, but it's
interesting.
not.
Yeah.
Uh, quickly here,
Yeah.
big thank you to Nancy, Pam S, Cat Chaser times 2, Kira, and Maggie for the incredible super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. Hi, JSCO. How you doing? And here we go with the next half hour, everyone. Past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind everybody that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we bring in Geraldine Orozco from GeraldineOrozco.com and Bay Area Meditation out of San Francisco, California. It's the Spiritual You, and we're going to get right to audience questions here. Start off with Marty here, Geraldine. Can trauma be a cause of cancer?
Short answer, yes. And this, depending on at what stage in your life you got the cancer, it will depend how much the influence is of ancestral trauma. When people are born with cancer or they get cancer at a very early age, it is an influence and a carry-on from ancestral trauma, collective trauma. And so these are contractual agreements that, we have to kind of neutralize and heal within the lineage. If this is a cancer that's activated at a later age, remember that all illnesses are essentially dormant in the body until they become active. Okay, so we essentially we epigenetically can change, can heal the body, or we can even sicken the body. We can activate some of these things. So, as you know, you're not married to your DNA, which means that even if cancer runs in your family, it doesn't mean that you're going to get it. If you have a lifestyle that promotes and provides an environment for cancer, such as self-hate, self-rejection, cancerous self-destructive behaviors, patterns and emotions and thoughts, you can create and generate a really good environment for cancer in your body. Okay. And it's amazing how I see these patterns and trends within the clients that I work with specifically the kind of cancer that they get and the kind of belief systems that primarily managing their subconscious life and their subconscious mind. The link is so powerful there. Okay. So it's important to try to maintain balance, harmony in the body. Letting go of things from the past, releasing the past, healing the past, forgiving, don't holding on to resentments, transmuting in order to create non-acidic, non-free radical, oxidized body that is a conduit of life force, essentially. So the answer is yes, trauma can be cause of cancer.
All right, let's go to Core Love. Do you know about the Cathara Grid? I know you don't know about the chelonic science. I asked you that. But do you know about the Cathara Grid? I don't even know what that is. I've never heard of it.
I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know what that is.
Hold on. I'm going to Google it.
Yeah, let's Google it. What is that? Let's see.
Cathara Grid. The word Cathara, also known as the Tree of Life, refers to the core structure of morpho.
Oh, yes.
The holograph templates.
Of course.
So what are they about?
Yeah, of course. So, Kabbalah. Okay, so yeah, and I guess it goes by different names, but essentially, how do I describe this? Going back to the origin. So this grid means a lot of things. It's the different elements, planets, vortices, main energy centers in the body. It's basically the architectural structure of the body, mind, and world. Okay, it's the foundation, the tree of life, essentially the grid of base blueprint of creation. Okay, it holds within it the chakra systems of the physical body. It's the key um, numeric and genetic structure of all that we are. Okay, so I'm not sure what your question. I guess there is no direct question about that, but essentially, this is a tool that can be utilized to understand some of these really old mystery school understanding of our multidimensional body and the way that we navigate this realm psychologically, emotionally, and interdimensionally. Each one of those points in that grid essentially represents a planet, an archetype, an energy vortex portal through the body. It represents how energy moves through this universe as well in a spiral, Fibonacci braiding of life force, and how it moves through the physical body as well as through the universe. So it's a really beautiful, beautiful symbolism that helps us understand the complexities of our organism. And I invite you all to get familiar with it. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's continue on here. Cat Chaser is asking, are some attachments good?
No, I would say no, and the reason why is because even in Zen, in the Buddhist Zen, one of their main points is to learn non-attachment. And the reason why, because the human arc, the experience of humanity coming into the physical realm is to experience the third dimensional plane. Okay, and so what that means, both we experience the physical through contrast, but the whole purpose of experiencing through contrast is to be able to transcend the cause and effect of these contrasts. When we get attached to any of the cause or the effect of these experiences, we stunt our growth, our development, and our ability to flow through this evolutionary process. But when we transmute and we come to the 0 point of non-judgment, of non-duality, of neutrality, we actually can experience all things, good, bad. There is no compartmentalization, and we just simply experience, not even for the purpose of learning necessarily, but just the experience of them. And in order to be able to do that successfully, it requires non-attachment. So this is going to work both vice versa, your relationship with the external world and your relationship with the internal world. So we don't really want to carry on too many attachments. Attachments, identities, personalities, all of those can create a death for you because it becomes a cap in your evolutionary process. We want to keep going. We want to experience everything as much as possible. So, yeah, that's my advice on that.
All right, let's continue on here. And let's go to Core Love again. How do we change our vortex spin rate or the angle of our Merkaba? More specifically, how do you do this?
Absolutely. To make it simple, it's all about your vibrational frequency. Okay. So there is something, and I have these slides on my website. You can check them out. And also, I talk about this extensively on my YouTube channel. But depending on our state of creator, so if we are victims, if we see everything in separation, our vortex is spinning pretty slow. Okay. We're in survival rate. We still see everything separate. And we constantly judge and compartmentalize things. The higher you go in the creator levels that are available to you, the more you begin to access coherence, unity consciousness. And when you reach unity consciousness, you no longer see things as the other or as separate from you. You begin to see everything as a part of you, as an extension of you. And this is vibrationally the fastest spin rate possible because you become in resonance with everything. Essentially, you have united all of your rainbow spectrum colors into white light. You become white light. White holds all the colors. So when you embody, and this is why we use a lot of white light in our healing, because we need to remind the body, every cell of the body holds ancient centuries of lifetimes of memory that we are triggering and reliving constantly. So when we enter that right light into the body, we remind the cells of the body what we are, who we are. And that's what actually creates healing in us. It's a vibrational frequency of unconditional love, which is not an emotion. It's a state of being, it's in a state of understanding, and it's a state of creator. So this is how you change your vortex rate. At the same time, you're changing brain waves. So every new spin rate that you initiate into your life is also changing your brain waves. It creates more plasticity in your ability to navigate interdimensionally. And that means that your shape of your body geometrically is going to change. Merkaba is just one of the shapes that we create with our vortex movement. When we enter into even higher dimensional levels, just like the platonic solids that make up dimensional expressions, the geometry of these expressions, we turn into those many different shapes that we can activate. And that's the activation of our DNA, essentially. That's what we're activating.
Wonderful. Let us continue on here with our questions. Let's go to Pete here. And can people who claim to be able to remove attachments actually do it?
Oh, well, it really just depends on their level of understanding. I guess the best, I guess it's hard to see to do that, but the person that holds more light, the person that is most non-identified with identities and attachments in their own self as a healer would be the best example for someone that you can use as a good healer for you to remove the attachment. But remember that we don't need anybody outside of us to be able to do these things for us. Essentially, what they're doing is just holding space for you to remove it. You are the one that has to agree to release the attachment to the thing, because you're attaching as much as it's attaching to you. Okay? It can be protection. Sometimes illnesses, we think they protect us. Sometimes we think our weight protects us. Sometimes we think our anger protects us. Our drug use protects us. So all of these are different ways of having these attachments that we have to be courageous enough to be able to replace those neural pathways. We have to interrupt the comfort zone of those suffering dynamics that we create and replace it with productive healing programs that actually nourish the body. And for that, it takes courage. It takes absolute authenticity. Be truthful with yourself. You have to look at your trauma. You have to look at all the things that have traumatized you in the face, experience them, understand them, and be able to process the emotions that have been triggered by them. And this is how you then heal. You transcend that trauma. So, of course, if you need support in learning those techniques, I have a lot of that free content on my YouTube.
Awesome. And our YouTube is Geraldine Orozco. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Give it a thumbs up so that way ring the bell so you know when she's live. I ring the bell. I ring the bell.
He does. Dave, you're such a supporter. Thank you so much.
I am. I'll even support you when you are on this show and I'm live with you. That's the fun.
Oh, you're so wonderful.
Pam is asking, does sleepwalking fit the ratio? Ratio of what? I don't know.
Of what? Yeah, that's a good question. Can you clarify that for us, Pam?
Well, let's just talk about sleepwalking.
Okay, yeah, great question. Well, so sleepwalking is when we enter into a hypnagogic state in between waking state and dream state, where our body is physically active and responding to our subconscious navigations, I guess you can say. Okay, so people that sleepwalk are essentially they're in deep sleep. And sometimes they will enter into REM state where their eyes will be moving, or sometimes they will even have their eyes open, but they won't be conscious. They won't be there. You can run your hand in front of their face. They won't see you because they are running in a different vibrational rate, different brainwave. So, so essentially, a lot of people, let's see, I don't even know where to begin. There's so much to talk about, but really, if we want to combine this with ET contact, for example, this is not the same thing. I want to remind you. A lot of people that have experienced ET contact sometimes have this really powerful feeling to go outside in the house, or go outside, and then they're picked up or they have these experiences. Okay, so that's not the same as sleepwalking. In sleepwalking, you are in a dream state. And dream state is another dimensional plane. So sometimes these dream states can enter in other dimensions. You can dream about an ET contact and be walking around your house. That does happen. It doesn't mean that you didn't have the contact. It just means that you're at a different range of frequency. Okay, everything is occurring simultaneously. So I never discount people that do have these kinds of sleepwalking experiences. It's very important to deeply understand what are the elements of that dream walking experience. When people are dream walking, it's important not to wake them up, shake them up, because their brainwave, just like in hypnosis, when you leave them in the middle of the hypnosis, they're still in that hypnagogic state, and they might not have control over their body, and they can cause harm to themselves or something else, and they won't know. So you have to be very careful, very cautious. Bring them lovingly into a waking state, make them sit down or make them lay down so that they go to sleep. And it's not something scary at all. Okay, please understand. Some people get very scared when people sleepwalk, but it's not scary at all. Yeah.
Are you a sleepwalker? Is that where
No.
you went last night when you got your feet all dirty?
Yeah, I know. I thought people would ask me that. This has only happened to me 2 times. One time in 2013 and one time a couple days ago. But no, I don't sleepwalk. Um, you can stop sleepwalking. People that have a lot of trauma do sleepwalk. Because they're not able to integrate the sleep state into the physical rest time. So that's also important. Yeah.
Okay. Derek would like to know, Geraldine, have you done physical healings for people with medical issues?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of my clients do have medical issues. And my job is to hold space and support the somatic roots that contribute to the illness. Okay. And healing depends fully on the person, how much they're willing to deprogram and reprogram. And sometimes it takes a very long time for people to heal from really, really deep traumas that create illnesses. But the kind of healings that we have done, especially the past couple of years, have been unbelievable with healings as a result of some of DNA reprogrammings and hypnotherapies. People have had babies as a result of me. People have healed illnesses in their body, lost weight, changed eating habits, chronic issues that they were having have all been able to change. So it depends, because the way that I look at it is very holistically, looking at every part of your life. You have to understand, your diet, your emotions, and it takes work. So you have to be ready to do that work. So yes.
Well, that's excellent. That is excellent. We got a couple more here. Let's go to Nancy. Do you teach people how to hear their own voices so they hear their own voice?
Okay, so I'm not sure of the question exactly, but
I
yes,
guess hear that inner self.
yeah. If that is the question, then the answer is yes. That's my number one goal, is to help reconnect the mind-body connection. When we have a lot of trauma and when we're disconnected from ourselves a lot, it's really hard for us to vocalize, even identify what we're feeling. And that kind of disconnect really doesn't help in any healing modality. It also creates confusion, emotional confusion, stress, anxiety, depression, states of stagnation. So it's really important to not only learn how to hear that voice, which is your intuitive voice, but also listen to the body. Your body's speaking to you all the time. Okay, sometimes we ignore that we're tired. We ignore that we're hungry. We ignore that we need to stop or not go into this relationship or place. And we ignore those things. And then we cause suffering to our body. So it's really important to train yourself in listening and then taking action on that voice, then implementing the change. So these are some important tools, and yeah, that I help with.
Excellent. Final question tonight for you
Yeah.
comes from the United Kingdom. Sweet Tony D is asking, Dave, could you ask the lovely Geraldine how she protects or makes herself invisible when she goes to places of suspect? You use crystals and symbols?
Yeah, so my perspective has changed about this over the course of the past 7 years because a deeper understanding of what it means to protect. Okay, and so protection, the highest form of protection, is a high vibration, and that all depends on you. So anytime that we see things as separate, anytime that we are in defense, in survival mode, where we think something will attack us or hurt us, or that we need to protect ourselves, that is a state of vibrational frequency that literally attracts the exact thing that you're trying not to experience. So the key is to completely rewire the brain in order to feel a high vibration frequency, and especially unconditional love, which again, it's not an emotion, it's a state of being, it's a geometric shape. It is the spin of your vortex. So when you embody that unconditional love, you are untouchable because you become neutral. There is nothing that can hurt you because you have nothing to hurt. And you know yourself so well that nothing can catch you off guard or manipulate you or hurt in any way. So this is the strongest form of protection. On the external level, you can use many techniques that I teach on my channel. One is called the body of glass, where you literally imagine the physical form dissolving and you just see yourself as your essence and light. This is a powerful cloaking technique that you don't want to use when you're crossing the street because you will not be able to be seen, okay? So very important to be mindful of that in training. This is a Qigong and Tai Chi technique as well. And another way is to remember your field, your entire multidimensional body. You can change and direct experiences based on your intention. So if you need to experience joy, happiness, safety, protection in a place, pick a color that represents protection, fill that into your space. It works a lot with neutralizing illnesses or viruses. Okay, you can imagine that in your space, and your entire cellular structure is vibrating at that frequency in your intention. Okay, but again, it's not coming from fear, it's coming from this unconditional co-creation and love, a symbiotic relationship with the universe where you see yourself as united with the whole. Okay, so that's what I would say. Do I use crystals and symbols? Crystals are tools that can be utilized for that, but I think the most powerful crystal is you, because actually your pineal gland creates little crystals when you transmute your own primordial life force. And that cultivation of crystallization of high vibrational frequency makes you a powerful conduit for source white light. So those of you that walk in white light, you are always in alignment with the highest expression. You are deeply protected and you are co-creating a higher timeline. Okay. So that's really, and I do use symbols, but there's not too much time to talk about that. We can talk about that next time. But symbols are also a powerful tool that you can use to set an intention in your field for how you want to experience the event that you're going into. Okay. In other words, you're the master of your creation.
And that's what we all are, the masters of our own creations, just like you are a master of the spiritual you on Spaced Out Radio here, Geraldine.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to spend time with you and with everyone here. Thank you for your amazing questions. And I can't wait to see you next month.
Absolutely. We will see you twice next month, right here on Spaced Out Radio. And then again in Las Vegas for our fan party, the second annual fan party at the Golden Nugget, which we'd love for everybody to attend. You can get more information on our website. You can see Geraldine and many others hanging on out with us and you, because that's what it's all about.
Yay!
Yes. Geraldine's going to have 16 pairs of shoes to choose from.
I will? Who's going to carry those suitcases, Dave?
I'll come get you at the airport. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. We love Geraldine around here. Coming up next, we're going to head to the swamp. Then, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is going to be here for the Crypted Report. Spaced Out Radio continues with Hour 3 next. Much love, my friend.
All right,
Much.
baby. See you soon. Bye.
I'll call you soon about your YouTube channel, okay?
Oh, yeah, please do. Thank you. Bye.
All right, take care. Geraldine Orozco, everybody. I'm going to step away. Be right back in a minute. Hi, Thomas Rock. Hello, Big Tex. How you doing, buddy? The Advil kicked in. Good stuff. Big thank you tonight to Maggie, Kira, Cat Chaser ×2, Pam S., and Nancy for the amazing super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. Another great way to support us is make sure you hit that thumbs up and hit subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps us out. Yes. Dougie is doing okay. He's still loving the snow outside. All right. Dave head spins. I'm outie. Hey, Jay Burke, how you doing, man? All right. We got about 5 seconds here. We'll get this thing going.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Geodesy. Geodesy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. When I was around 15 years old, I lived in this house near the woods, and we had this long stretch of dirt road not too far away that used to be a railroad many years back. A friend and I were driving a quad bike on this dirt road because no cars drive there, so you could do whatever you wanted. You know, play around with all the fun stuff. One day on this dirt road, as we were playing with this quad bike, we saw someone walking down the street. We slowed down and drove forward. As we got closer, it looked to be a person walking several dogs. To clarify, we were still pretty far away. Once we got a bit closer, it looked more like a moose, so at this point we stopped the quad bike and decided just to watch it from afar. It slowly kept walking towards us. It started to look more like a person again, but without any dogs. So we decided to start up the quad bike again, and we drove towards this person. Suddenly, it looked like this person was absolutely drunk off their balls because it started going side to side on the road like it couldn't keep its balance. So we drove a little faster to check on what was going on. When we were pretty close, the person fell off the road. At this point, we moved fast to ensure everything was fine, but we couldn't see anyone. We had gone pretty far down the road, so we were at an open field. If someone had fallen off the road, we would have seen them by now, but there was nothing, just an empty, vast area around us. We get pretty freaked out, and after a couple of minutes, we hear this gunshot and some sort of moaning from an animal or some person maybe. I can't explain it, but it was a weird sound. The gunshot isn't that weird because of where we live. It's pretty standard for people to go out and hunt animals or whatever. We didn't think much of it and just drove back home. The next day, we decided to get on the quad bike again and go see if we could see this figure. At some point, we drove past where we originally saw it, and I could swear, deep, deep, deep down into the woods, I could see a figure standing there. Again, as we got closer, it began to turn into what looked like a human, then some sort of moose or something, and then back to a human. I'm not sure what we were witnessing, but after another minute or so goes by, we once again, just like last time, hear a similar gunshot go off, and then we hear what sounds like a moaning or a groaning sound. I'm not sure if this is some sort of haunting that is just residual, or if we are actually hearing something criminal. It was a typical day for Ranger Tom as he patrolled the trails of Yosemite National Park, surrounded by the magnificent beauty of the towering mountains and lush forest. But as he hiked more profoundly into the wilderness, he began to sense that something was not quite right. The birds were silent and the animals were seemingly nowhere to be seen. Then, as he rounded a bend in the trail, he came face to face with a creature that defied all description. It was massive, with fur as black as night and piercing yellow eyes that seemed to glow in the darkness. It let out a blood-curdling roar that echoed throughout the forest. Tom quickly realized he was no longer alone in the wilderness and was stalked by a beast unlike anything he had ever encountered. He tried to run for it, but the creature was too fast and too strong. It seemingly closed in on him, and Tom could feel its hot breath on the back of his neck. He knew that he had to find a way to escape or he would be the next victim of this beast. He searched the area for a weapon to protect himself from the monster. Finally, he had a fallen branch he found that was strong enough, and he picked it up to defend himself as the creature lunged towards him. Tom was backed up against a wall, a rock wall that he couldn't climb or couldn't get around. For hours, Tom fought for his life against the beast. Whenever he thought he had the upper hand, the creature would return more robust than ever. Then, just when he felt he could not last any longer, he heard the sound of footsteps and voices in the distance. A group of hikers had stumbled upon the scene and were able to scare the beast away. Tom was severely injured but alive, and as soon as he was rescued and taken to safety, the officials said that this was a bear attack. But even now, as he sits in his hospital bed, Tom cannot shake the feeling that this beast is still out there, waiting for its next opportunity to strike. He knows it wasn't a bear. He experienced it. He damn near lived through it. The thought that this thing may come back after him haunts him every single day. He quit his job, never to return to the wilderness. He will never be able to work at Yosemite National Park ever again.
And that's why we love the Swamp Dweller around here. Takes us on a spooky journey each and every night, Monday through Friday, to kick off hour number 3 of this show. If you want more stories just like that, head on over to the Swamp Dwellers YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads and make it happen today. All of them are for free. You can hear just thousands of them. From the swamp to the mountains of Montana, where we bring in Super Duke for World Bigfoot Radio and the Crypted Report. Super Duke, the Crypted Report with Super Duke. All right, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is here again, and Duke, your hair is looking absolutely magnificent for tonight's show.
Thanks, buddy. Like I said last time, more articulate than Ozzy Osbourne, more alive than Lemmy Kilmister, and with better hair than Dave Mustaine, I'm back again.
Very true. Very true. How you been doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Recovering from that 2,800-mile road trip that I did a week ago, so I'm still kind of beat up from that, but feeling better, and I'm not really getting a chance to rest because, now that I got everything here, I have to unpack and reorganize everything, which I can only do in an hour or so, and my back starts falling apart and I have to quit again. So it's going to take frickin' forever to get this done with. So I'll be really, really happy when all this is over with, but I'm kind of guessing it's going to be a while yet. So it's really irritating.
No kidding. No kidding. Well, you know what? The good part is you get to talk to monsters with us. And you never
Hell yeah.
talking monsters, that's for sure.
I always enjoy that. And yeah, wasn't it great having Geraldine with us again? She was looking so pretty earlier tonight, and she had that Morticia Adams outfit going on there. I was just kind of going, oh, speak some French, please speak French. But no,
No, I bet you she could drop some Portuguese, though.
that'd be cool too.
Yeah, I will say that.
So yeah, I'm really excited actually because finally get to go. If nothing else, and the weather here is not being helpful because Sushi the Wonder Dragon woke up a couple days ago and I went, yeah, spring's here. Awesome. And he took a look around for about 2 hours and then crawled into the bed and went back into hibernation. I went, oh, man. And sure enough, it started snowing later on that day and has continued since then. But according to the weather genie, we're supposed to be getting 70s coming this weekend. So maybe Old Man Winter is finally going to get spring to spring upon him and curb stomp him into submission so we can start having some thawing here and I can get out in the woods and do some bigfooting. But until that happens at the end of the month, over on the 20th, 21st, 22nd, I'm of course going to be over in Nebraska for the Bigfoot conference over there and making a side trip to go to Richard Soul's favorite research areas. He lives about a 2-hour drive from there. And dragging Christy Sci-Fi and Blaine Tyler and Ashton, the Viking Death Squad, with me. So it should be quite the epic fun time there. We're going to try and do the impossible, Dave. We're going to try and be like that TV show where they go to different states and stuff and they try and, find Bigfoot or something? Except we're going to be in this location for one day, no overnight, and see how much evidence we can find in one day. And there's only one person on the team that lives in that state. Everybody else has never been there or has never actually put boots on the ground looking around for anything there. And it's a completely different environment than we all live in. So this should be quite the epic challenge. And we're totally up for it. It's going to be a blast.
Well, that's good. That's good. And where's that taking place?
Well, the conference itself on the 21st and the 22nd is over in Hastings, Nebraska. Where we're going to is over near Lincoln, Nebraska, which is a couple hours drive away from there to the southeast, if I remember right. And hopefully get a chance to go northwest of there at some point, too, and go up to the Omaha Reservation and visit Barry and the Res Squatching guys up there, because they've always got stuff going on up there. They've got very lackadaisical Bigfoot living in their area that don't bother to, not let people see them. It's very common for them to, oh, there was just one walking across a road a few minutes ago. It's still daytime. What's wrong with these guys?
I don't know how you do it, man. I don't know how you do it, but somehow that's why we call you Super Duke. That's why we do it here.
Well, I'm just saying it's going to be quite the challenge. There's only one person there that knows the area, and the rest of us are all just flying by the seat of our pants with experience we've got from our local area. So it'll be fun to see what we come up with. But yeah, anytime you can get boots on the ground in some area outside your own, Dave, it's worth doing. Because there's a lot of things in common, but there's also some differences depending on the environment. And some of the environments and the difference is gigantic, like the ones living down in the desert southwest. Oh, yeah, it's a lot different than the ones up here where we live, Dave.
Well, you know what? I tell you, I got my little guy all excited today. And the reason why is this weekend we are going to put my Jeep together and prep it for Sasquatch season.
Right on.
So we're going to be doing all of that, making sure all of our, first aid kit is in there in case, blankets in there in case we get stuck or something happens. We got to make sure we have an axe in there and a shovel just in case. So we're going to be prepping the Jeep this weekend for any sort of action that we are going to see this year. Because it's always best, Duke, to be prepared to go into the forest, even if you see nothing. Doesn't matter whether you're going for Sasquatch or you're going to look at wildlife. You always got to be prepared for the worst.
Same thing with going out in the woods. Safety first, last, and always. And, if you're going to do crazy things like you're about to do, and like my number one research assistant who's trying to go up to Thunderbolt Mountain in the winter. Yeah, he's got a Jeep, but so what? He's got a winch on the front of it. So when he gets stuck, which probably will happen, he can pull himself out again. So make sure you got a winch or a come along or something with you too, Dave.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We will make sure.
Because, you only get stuck out in the middle of nowhere where you get no phone signal. You don't get stuck where you've got signal.
Oh, of course. Of course. But you know what? The one safety thing we should say when you're going out into the forest, always let someone know where you are. And
Yep.
if you plan on being back, say at 6 o'clock, tell them if you don't hear from me by 10, 11 o'clock, call the police or call rescue or whomever. And don't stray from that area where you say you're going. Okay?
Yep.
You can be a little vague, but always say, and if you have nobody to call, you can always call your local police force and just give them on the non-emergency line, of course, and say, look, I'm going out backpacking or traveling out to this area. I should be back by 11. I don't have any contacts in this area, but I wanted to let you know where I am.
Yep.
And they will always take that. And give yourself, like I said, 4 or 5 hours, because you never know if you get a flat tire or if you fall down a trail or maybe you just want to catch a beautiful sunset.
Yeah, I got a weird arrangement like that in my one research area where you have to drive and or walk 12 miles in any direction to get to phone signal. So we are unreachable when we're up there. So I always tell at least one person what day we're going to be back, approximately what time, and I'll give you a call to make sure that we got out again. And it's usually just Robin McRae, because if we don't show up, she'll just send the Sasquatch to find us and then find out where we are. So that'll work out even better. We don't need search and rescue. The Sasquatch will find us pretty much instantly. No doubt they're watching us the whole time we're there. So it's like, oh yeah, they're right here, Robin. Tire broke or something like that. That big box doesn't move. Well, anyway, what do I have for us tonight? Well, what I have for us tonight is everybody's favorite military Bigfoot encounters.
Nice.
And we're going down south to... Go ahead, Dave.
No, I'm excited. I love these.
Yeah, it just surprises me when I was going through this whole long list of just how many there are. And this list was compiled, probably 10 years ago now. So I'm sure there's a pile more of them. U.S. Army Fort Bragg, North Carolina, down in North Kakalaki. 82nd Airborne Division Recondo School. The GCBRO website had an interesting upload that fit well with the idea of Bigfoot sightings in and around military installations. This one was in Hoke and Cumberland counties on the Fort Bragg installation. Here's that entry, quote, "Although I marked the terrain as woody, we had been moving through the swamps all day long and emerged about 1,700 hours to fairly thick level pine forest and scrub undergrowth. We were the recon school for 82nd Airborne Division, a sort of baby ranger school where they try and cram nearly 3 months of impossible training into just 3 weeks. The first sense of something odd was that I thought someone was pacing us just beyond our range of vision in the underbrush. I tried to brush it off as just the echo of our own footsteps into the brush. I mentioned it to a buddy. He heard it too." Just as the platoon leader for this phase of the field training exercise began to give the operation orders, we all heard what sounded like the heavy footsteps of a man just beyond our vision and only where there was ample brush for cover. The Black Hat, which is the grader of our platoon, sent 2 men out to see what it was. In the meantime, we continued on with operational orders. After about 20 minutes, the 2 men returned, only to have those footsteps return as well. Here we were trying to focus on getting the orders down and figure out exactly what our individual roles would be, and at the same time, someone was out there stomping in the brush. The Black Hat, a veteran of these training exercises and a full-fledged ranger, did not look comfortable with what he was hearing. He sent 2 more soldiers out to investigate while we tried to get back to the op orders. By now, it's getting dark, but we could still make out shapes and avoid bumping into trees. The details of anything dark moving around were not distinguishable, but the 2 guys saw it. They were moving slowly through an area the sounds of the footsteps were coming from, and trying to avoid what looked like a large shrub of some sort on the ground. They went around it. At this time, the shrub stood up on two legs and raised its arms over its head. The two real tough Recondo guys screamed, turned tail, and ran full speed right straight through our perimeter, and likely would have kept going had we not called them back. One guy said the thing was as high as I could hold my M16. This would make it about 9 to 10 feet tall. I'm 6'2", but I voiced doubt about the actual size. He backed off the size a bit. When I started snooping around a little, I turned up some reports of a Bigfoot-like creature they called the Manchester Monster. Excuse me. To understand how big Fort Bragg Army installation is, it covers 2 counties, Hoke and Cumberland. The base is sandwiched in between Simmons Army Airfield to the southeast and Pope Army Airfield to the northwest of Fort Bragg. It's a huge complex. Just like Quantico Marine Base in Virginia, the region around and on the base has a history of sightings near the ammo storage areas. One of these Bigfoot regulars that frequent the ammo storage area was actually nicknamed the Manchester Monster. The description of this creature is the same as that of the Canadian and Alaskan Bigfoot. That is, slightly taller than most recorded height calculations in the lower 48. There were reports in the Fayetteville Observer about base sightings of the creature and a story about the Manchester Monster in the Paraglide News. The area around the ammo storage facility is off limits and is a massive swamp area from Blackjack Road, Riley Road, to the Manchester area at the Fort Bragg Army installation. It was said one of the local residents saw the creature in his neighbor's yard. Another road crossing sighting occurred near to Simmons Army Airfield in 1988. At the time, it was believed to be the Manchester Monster reported near Blackjack Road. It was once sighted heading towards Smith Lake, which sits on the eastern side of the Simmons Army Airfield there in North Carolina. Regarding the U.S. Army base at Fort Bragg, Master Sergeant Chewy V. wrote, "Me and my buddies were knocking back a few at the local hooch one night, and we had to hustle back to the barracks when it got late. On the way back, the 3 of us encountered 2 strange beings, black in the moonlight, that shadowed us for a half a mile. We jogged, they jogged. We stopped to listen, it stopped moving. Then, in unison, we turned and poured on the lung power, and waving our arms wildly, causing the freaky things to peel off into the woods. Surprised that we stopped them, we kept running, double-timing it back, and never said a word about it, not one word to a living soul. Ridicule by fellow soldiers or fear of what is known as Section 8, which is old-school terminology for mentally unfit for duty, often keeps on-base sightings of Bigfoot to a minimum." And, of course, the Section 8 refers to a category of discharge from the U.S. military for reasons of being crazy. In a follow-up bit of correspondence, I pressed Chewy for a description. He said due to the alcohol he'd consumed, the creatures were a blur in the dark. He recalled they were black or dark and big, which he wrote in capital lettering. They might have been wearing furry stadium coats. The informant was looking for any validation that the monsters might have been Bigfoot-like creatures. What would you have told him? 2002. As for the curtain call for all things Fort Bragg, on September 2011, this interesting addendum presented itself. Staff Sergeant Joshua Ford, a spokesman for the 82nd Airborne Division, said a load of ammunition went missing from the 1st Brigade combat team at Fort Bragg Army Base. Brigade was placed on lockdown while officials conducted a search for the missing ammo, and the missing 5.56 millimeter ammo is valued at about $3,600, but could be purchased in any Walmart, according to the puzzled official familiar with the investigation who spoke to Reuters only on condition of anonymity. How are we doing on time here, Dave?
We got about 20 seconds.
Okay, well, let's take a break until we get back then.
I love these military encounters, man.
Yeah, they're just such a blast.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know, honestly, Duke, that there was that many. I really did not know that.
These are only the ones that this one particular author managed to actually track down and do research on. There's a ton of them floating around that have come out since then that haven't even been vetted yet. So it's probably 4 times as many.
Well, the good part about it is you're going to be back with more right after the break. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is here for the Crypted Report and more military encounters with the legendary Sasquatch and other cryptids. Spaced Out Radio, final half hour is next, right after this. Way to go, Super Duke.
Speaking of rangers, we had Bigfoot in Germany, Robert Boston, on your show, and he was a ranger. And when he was up in the Sierra Nevadas camping with his former military friends, all armed like Rambo, something came into their camp, grabbed him and his tent and 150 pounds of gear, and ran up basically a cliff face with him, about 80 feet. And all of his screaming woke his friends up, and they started making noise and reaching for guns and whatnot. And whatever it was dropped him, luckily not off the edge of the cliff 5 feet from where he landed, and let him go. But he said this thing went uphill that far and that distance in, like how long does it take for people to hear a couple screams and jump up, especially if they're military trained? That's how long. A few seconds. And that's with him, full-size guy, 150 pounds of gear, and the whole tent. He just grabbed the edge of the tent like it was a trash bag, and ran off with him in it, basically. Kind of like the Albert Osman thing where they mistook him for a ground burrito and ran off with him because he was in that sleeping bag and they thought he was a burrito. But anyway, I'm going to take a break here for a second.
Yeah, you go. I'll just kind of hang out with the audience here. Super Duke. Hi, Noble Patrick. How you doing? Vince Neil finally got the axe. What does that mean? Now I got to check that on Twitter. Vince Neil. Well, he turned 62. Hard to believe he made it that long. Hard to believe anybody from Motley Crue made it that long. There's nothing new on Vince Neil. You can't tease like that. Hey, Yumi Doll, how are you? She is reporting in as usual. Very nice, thank you. I've only seen Motley Crue once. Thought they put Nikki Sixx is really weird because he's got this extra long torso and these short little penguin legs. Nothing on Twitter about him getting fired or dead or anything. Nothing. Nero Stream, how you doing? Thurston Howell the Third. Talking about whether or not Vince Neil got let go from Motley Crue. I don't see that happening.
That would be bizarre.
I know Mick Mars. I was really surprised Johnny Five went in for Mick Mars. I actually thought it would be DJ Ashba because him and Nikki Sixx are very tight, and Ashba's actually played on some of the later albums. But I was surprised they didn't go that way. But we can talk about that after. Here we go, everyone. Thank you to Kira, Cat Chaser ×2, Pam S, Nancy, Deb, and Maggie for the super chats. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. The Crypted Report with Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is here once again, and we've got more stories regarding military interventions with creatures like Sasquatch. Super Duke, take it away, man.
Alrighty-o. Back to the tales, the truthful tales of really weird things happening. Okay, missing ammunition. The interesting part of the report was, what man can hide 14,000 rounds of ammunition on a secure army base? Who carries off that much ordnance without being seen? Curious if the ammunition was ever found. I phoned the base, but getting any kind of information was kind of like pulling teeth. Undeterred, I phoned Reuters, and after 30 minutes of transferred calls, I learned the ammunition had not been found. The security guards were in the brig, but not officially charged pending where and when the ammo is found. I was told that everything on the base must be accounted for and that 14,000 rounds simply don't vanish. Yet a complete search turned up nothing. Or is it a stretch to think one of the hairy guys in a stadium coat walked off with 14,000 rounds? Maybe. There are 11 towns within a 17-mile radius of Fort Bragg Army Base, North Carolina, that boast strange sightings, which also include ghosts, haunted buildings, and other apparitions. Bigfoot sightings rank right up there in the high number count. Now we will go north to Fort Drum, the 10th Mountain Army Division in New York. Fort Drum is located on more than 107,000 acres in the picturesque Thousand Island region of northern New York State. Considered one of the most beautiful regions in the United States, the base at Fort Drum supports readiness and mission execution for combat-ready forces. I don't know anything about the region or Fort Drum until August 2005, when an email I read in part, quote, "I'm a civilian worker at the Fort Drum facility in New York. No name, please. I'm reporting Bigfoot living at this place. I heard secondhand from a group of Army personnel, soldiers here on base, headed out on a run toward Wheeler Airfield, north end of the base. They were jogging toward the Black River," oh, that's not ominously named at all, "when they told me they encountered a large monstrosity that was a head and shoulders above the tallest guy on the run. That guy had to look up at the thing, and he told us it towered over them like a balloon in the Macy's Day Parade. It was hard to believe it was a real thing, but it crossed Fort Drum Road in 2 steps and went into the trees like those guys weren't even there. I don't know what happened after that. This is Jefferson County, New York. 2 years ago, I was privy to a conversation between a non-com being dressed down and an officer. What I heard was, 'Look, son, it didn't happen. Are we clear?' Later that same day, I inquired of the kid in the office what he did to get yelled at. He said he saw a booger like they had back home in Alabama. Confused, the kid said with some bit of alarm in his voice, "I know what I saw, but I was told I didn't see it." In brief, posted on the ATS member board in May 2005, was this abbreviated and second-hand message concerning a run-in with Bigfoot on Fort Drum land. Quote, "I recall back in 1972 learning how Bigfoot stayed hidden in the dense timber on the Fort Drum military reservation near Watertown, New York, my hometown. A hunter told me of the experiences he and his son and other hunters had had in the uninhabited areas of that military land. I think the creature stays and go where humans are scarce. His run-in indicated the creature is active at night, tracks and uses smell to detect other creatures, is massive in size and strength, is cautious and frightened of humans. It appears to be fairly intelligent, but not as human as far as most seem to think." Yeah, they're wrong. Camp Shelby Joint Forces Training Center, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I don't know the Camp Shelby area or how it relates to Mississippi boogers, but I can say that in 1996, I filed a note to myself concerning a brief report from an Army tank soldier who said he walked out of a place called the, quote, Three Pigs Barbecue, unquote, and observed a booger, which is what they call Bigfoot in the South, crossing over the road from behind the cafe to the other side of the Southgate Road. The corporal described the Bigfoot convincingly. The interesting behavior noted was that the so-called booger seemingly slammed its foot down with every step in what the soldier described as intentional force, like you would if you were trying to get mud off your boots. Its manner of walking was unusual and extraordinarily odd. In the Camp Shelby region, reports from the vicinity of a place called Dogwood Lake were reported in the late 1980s, but for some reason the rest of the notes, unfortunately, were illegible. I have a bad habit of setting my coffee cup on top of stacked notes. Dobbins Air Force Base, Marietta, Georgia, and March Air Force Base, Riverside County, California. More Bigfoot on military installations. Quote, "Yes, as a career military man, I also believe that some Bigfoot creatures hole up on isolated parts of military bases. In the mid-'80s, I was stationed on March Air Force Base for 4 years. There are some pretty desolate places on and around March. There are still sightings in Southern California and places that border March Air Force Base on I-15, such as Indio, Fontana, Coachella Valley, etc. Even here in Georgia, on Dobbins Air Reserve Base in Marietta, I know stick and limb markers have been recently seen and detected in some isolated parts." Now, says the writer, "I found the reference to stick markers on the Dobbins AFB installations interesting. It's only in recent research history that field men actively look for and photograph these things." Fort Huaca, U.S. Army Base, Sierra Vista, Arizona. Fort, pronounced Huachuca, is a U.S. Army installation in Cochise County, Arizona, encompassing the community of Sierra Vista. The base borders Mexico in and the arid desert zone. It's home to NETCOM 9th Signal Command and now headquarters USAISC, a satellite for the Department of Defense. Richard Hucklebridge investigated a sighting on the base by a soldier who is part of the military drill team there. Excuse me. Page down too far. John was the name of the soldier, had been loaded onto a military bus that was headed out to a parade, a military funeral, when the informant saw from the side of the bus something coming out of a gully on the side of the road. The soldier had told Hucklebridge, quote, "When I looked in its face, I actually saw man-like features. It's hard to explain, but it was like a big hairy man. From its facial expression, I can tell it was frightened. It actually ran with its head looking back for a good distance." And then the next report is from Bergstrom Air Force Base, a U.S. Air Force base east of Austin, Texas. This was at one time the front line of the Strategic Air Command, SAC, until 1993. At the time of its closure, it was assigned to the ACC, the Air Combat Command. Mike Mays took a report that concerned an airman who recounted a Bigfoot sighting on Bergstrom Air Force Base in 1981. Reportedly, the Bigfoot was chased away from pillaging through a group of dumpsters. The scent of the Sasquatch, quote, "freaked out a bad bleep canine military attack dog," unquote, that cowered and whimpered like he'd been injured. The creature ran off into the desert. And another one here from Marine Corps based Camp Pendleton in 2001. Kevin Withers filed a report that occurred at Camp Pendleton Marine Base, which serves as prime amphibious training in San Diego County, California. The infantry soldier was on night maneuvers. He told Withers that he had dug into a hill on the base expecting enemy forces to attack. One Marine was with him and 2 others were dug in 30 yards away. Suddenly, they heard something coming up the side of the mountain. Rocks were rolling down a steep rocky precipice close by. The Marines shouted, "Halt!" Standing up in front of the Marine, barely 6 feet away, was the outline of this creature that he described as huge. It looked like it was 3.5 feet wide across the shoulders with long arms. The Marine stated that from the hole where he had dug, he had to look straight up at the creature. It made no noise. They were not able to discern details, and there was no odor as it walked away between the 2 foxholes. The incident was not reported to command, but all 4 of the Marines saw the creature.
Nothing scary about that. Nothing scary.
No. Well, I mean, it wasn't aggressive, but I mean, yeah, you'd be like, that's an underwear changing moment. U.S. Army Base, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Curator, owner of the Felton, California Bigfoot Museum, Mike Rugg, shares a great story on one of his widely popular Felton Museum videotape segments that occurred in the fall of 1983 on a military training installation. The story came to Rugg by way of a U.S. Army recruit who was stationed at the time at Fort Knox Army Base in Kentucky. The recruit was out in the field on a 3-day training mission when this occurred. They set up camp in a clearing in the woods, every soldier to his own tent. The first night was uneventful, but the second night is when this happened. Large food trucks would come in near the artillery range, which means everyone would be awakened at 4 a.m. in the morning. Recruits would have to get up real quick, dress, and head over to get to the chow line by 0:30. The witness was in line to eat when he suddenly realized that he had forgotten his gloves. It was very cold. Everyone had gloves on, so this kid thought he would get in trouble if he was caught without his gloves. Thinking quickly, the new recruit snuck back 100 yards or so in the dark to the area where the tents were. No flashlight or anything. Apparently, it was very difficult to see anything very clearly. He located his tent, and as he did, he noticed a dark figure standing behind his tent. So he spoke out to him, saying, "Oh, did you forget something too?" There was no response from the dark figure. So he said again, "Hey, we should look lively. We need to get back out there. We'll get in trouble." But again, there was no response from the man-like figure. There was just the recruit, the tent, and this thing, or dark figure standing there. It was considerably taller than he was. The silhouetted figure in the darkness was well built, wide shoulders, little to no neck apparent. Then it began to sway back and forth, leaning forward, straining to see him. All the while it continued this swaying left and right behavior. The recruit did pretty much the same thing. He leaned forward and strained to make out the distinguishing features of this dark human figure who wouldn't respond to his words. At the same moment, the young recruit felt something wasn't normal. It was weird, and here he was with no weapon. He had an M16, but they weren't issued bullets for it. Startled, he starts to back up a little bit to reassess the situation, and just then, one of the food trucks starts to back up, and as it does, its headlights flashed out, just for a second, but enough to give this recruit a very brief glimpse of the dark figure standing next to his tent. It was then he could see it was covered in hair. The sight so terrified the recruit that he backed up and took off running as fast as he could. He got back to the chow line and tried to tell the other soldiers what he just saw, and of course nobody paid any attention to him. They made fun of him, laughing off what he told them. He told them when the headlights of the truck lit up the dark figure, it was covered in light reddish hair, like the hair of an Irish setter. And the next one, we go back to North Kakalaki, the Marine Corps base at Camp Lejeune. Camp Lejeune, the home of the 2nd MARDIV Marine Corps Division, Combat Units and Support Command. Their mission, to maintain combat-ready units for expeditionary deployment and possible humanitarian missions abroad. The base is massive, encompassing 156,000 acres, including 11 miles of beaches capable of supporting amphibious operations training, gun positions, 48 tactical loading zones, 3 state-of-the-art training facilities, 80 live fire ranges, as well as a Sandy Run training area for the 40,000 Marines. Of interest are the high number of reports of, quote, indigenous wildlife, unquote, that are encountered on the base and its perimeter boundaries. Camp Lejeune abuts Holly Shelter Wildlife Management Area that in itself is an additional 65,000 acres in Pender County, North Carolina, which is right alongside Camp Lejeune and Camp Davis. Little known about Camp Lejeune is the Angola Bay Gameland area, which creates a contiguous natural track for indigenous wildlife, unquote, large and small, totaling 87,000 acres, where all manner of wildlife live totally undisturbed. Much of the Holly Shelter is remote and inaccessible, so inaccessible that an Army observation plane from Camp Davis, which crashed in the area in 1943, was not rediscovered until 1978. Non-military personnel, especially city dwellers, fail to understand the vastness of some of these military encampments in the USA. Realizing the massiveness of the habitat that surrounds Camp Lejeune, it seems reasonable that some of the, quote, wildlife would be of the hairy man types. Reports from Lejeune support that idea. After finding the case file again in an old computer in 2012, I scoured the internet looking for any reference I could find regarding soldiers at Camp Lejeune and Bigfoot, or as the Marines call the hairy man, quote, indigenous wildlife, unquote. I found Paul Halsey, who was kind enough to reply to my questions in January 2012. Halsey had written brief mention of an eyewitness account of 2 Marines in training at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. My question to Halsey was about that incident where a Bigfoot walked between 2 Marines in the foxhole while on maneuvers. Halsey's response to this was, quote, yes, you are correct. It was. I was up visiting my son on base when I was told the story. I didn't know there were any reports of such at Camp Lejeune. I found it interesting and asked my son if there was protocol for a Bigfoot encounter. He said that he was told that if they had an encounter with, quote, indigenous wildlife, unquote, they were not to engage, but rather report it. It made me wonder, how would anyone engage this, quote, indigenous wildlife, unquote? The military must look at it as an animal of some sort. I then found out that there were several reports, but not available to the public eye. Makes you kind of wonder what else they're not telling us, doesn't it? I didn't get to interview anyone, and most likely wouldn't have been able to see any records, but I found it interesting enough to start my own investigation of military protocol. Thanks for asking, and I hope I answered any questions you may have had. And that was Paul Halsey, Wednesday, January 25th, 2012.
About 3.5 minutes left.
Well, we'll wrap up what the author says here. It makes sense to her that if they were finding tracks of an unclassified living being, the government ought to welcome our curious sightings and acknowledge our inquiries. You would think the federal agencies would be alert enough to know DNA would eventually give up the secret, Dr. Melba Ketchum, they've tried to keep hidden from public knowledge. The fact that government agencies work hard to discredit serious research and otherwise act like we're all laughable signals to me that the Bigfoot life form are not simply an animal, as so many want to believe, but a separate life form the government refuses to acknowledge. The question then, of course, is why? Author says, I don't have the answers to that, but the reports continue to surface. After Halsey's brief narrative out of the blue, I received another note from a resident of Hubert, North Carolina, a little town that again abuts Camp Lejeune. The email note was brief, simply asking for anonymity because of the proximity to the Marine base, and stated in the interest of research that sightings on Bigfoot on or near the base are, quote, commonplace, no big deal, ma'am. You get used to it around here. It don't even make the papers anymore. So, does the military know about Bigfoot? Yes.
That doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me whatsoever. I just think it's funny that, that you mentioned earlier one of the stories where one of the security dogs got all sheepish quite quickly.
I have heard that reported so many times that people got these super death killer dog that can destroy anything. And as soon as Bigfoot shows up, the dog is like cowering with its tail tucked between its legs, hiding between its owner's legs, whizzing on itself, and whimpering. If that's the best cover it can get. Usually they try and hide under a bed or under a vehicle or something. They seem to instinctively know exactly what it is that they're dealing with, and there is apparently a natural hostility between the two of them. However that happened. Apparently, in some cases, the Sasquatch seem to like dogs, but in a lot of them, they just don't. And I think it's because dogs have been our early warning system for so long that they just don't like it. That the dogs give away their presence where we would otherwise be completely oblivious to the fact that they are very close by.
Super Duke, we got just over a minute to go here with you, about a minute 30. It's always a good time to bring you in here and tell us where people can find World Bigfoot Radio and where they can find you on social media.
You can find World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, and you can also find my support groups, World Bigfoot Radio and Montana Bigfoot Project, over on Facebook, and World Bigfoot Central on MeWe. And we had a first part of a two-parter on Sunday. We had William Lunsford, the Falk Monster Hunter, on, giving updates on all his research down there. And man, it was a great show. Had a ton of views on it. And in part 2, coming this Sunday, we are going to show more Bigfoot tracks in one show than anyone has ever shown in any show ever in the past. So don't miss that one. And they're all from Falk, Arkansas, and Sulphur River, and right around that area where the legend of Boggy Creek came from.
Oh, man. That sounds intense. Absolutely intense.
It is. I was looking at the pictures, getting ready to edit the show, going, oh my God, how am I going to pack all of these into an hour and 20 minutes? This is ridiculous.
And it does get ridiculous like that. Thank you, Super Duke, from World Bigfoot Radio. Thank you to Swamp Dweller and Geraldine Orozco for another amazing show tonight on the Mighty SOR. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAF, Spreaker, Facebook, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. Super Duke. Super Duke.
And a special thanks to the dancing techniques of Big Mac, the Happy Yeti.
Oh, yeah.
My mascot in the studio. Big Mac, the Happy Yeti. He's got his fez on that's got the little yellow smiley faces on it. Because he's a Happy Yeti.
That's some good horns up there, Susie B. Susie B. Hello, I'm Susie B.
Well, just to let everybody know, on Thursday we're going to be talking about the Batutut, which is the Vietnamese rock ape, which do not rock, but will kick your ass with rocks, and it will hurt.
Every time. Every time. Don't want none of that.
Yep, the Batutut. They have another name for it, but my Vietnamese isn't elegant enough to properly pronounce it, so I'm going to refrain from attempting.
The Batutut?
Batutut.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Rock apes. It sounds almost from the reports like the Viet Cong had more trouble with them than our troops did, because they were the ones using all the tunnel systems, and guess who likes being underground and being in tunnel systems? And they can smell the food you've got hidden in your tunnel system, and they want it. They will come into your tunnel system and contest you for it, because they're bigger than you. And can see in the dark, apparently. So, yeah, they had they had some problems with them over there.
Ugly. I'm so excited about this weekend, man, putting my Jeep together.
I really hope you can get up there soon, because, I know how it feels. It's been since, like, mid-October since we could do anything here. Everything's been snowed in. Can't get up in the mountains where all the biggies hang around. It's just been boring. Gotta get back out in the woods again.
Oh, yeah. I know one of the areas is plowed because they've been logging in that area all winter.
Sweet. Well, there's one place you can get into, sort of, until you park, and then once again you can't go anywhere unless you got snowshoes or a snowmobile. Then you're good.
We should be okay. But my area, I know they aren't logging on that road, so my area is still probably under snow for about another month.
Yeah. Well, my two main areas, you can't, until mid-May, you can't get up there. Mm-hmm. Whether you think you can or not, unless you got a snowmobile, because they just don't even open the gate on the road. So you can attempt it until mid-May.
Yeah. No. I'm just excited to put the Jeep together and get everything set up. And last year I didn't have a chance to do that. But like for Christmas, I asked for a bunch of like safety gear, and so that'll be good.
Oh, we got some new toys to play with out in the field this year. Ashton got himself a couple of nice drones now that he's already training to use, because can't quite get to the megaliths in the winter. You can get close to them. You can get within flying your drone over and look at them range. So that's what he's been practicing doing. And he's also picking up some nice audio gear, so that we'll actually be able to start recording some of the audio that we get, which I kind of felt like wasn't really worth it, because it's the same as like what everybody else is getting everywhere else. And until we started actually getting stuff that not everybody else is getting everywhere else. And then I went, well, maybe it's worth recording some of this, because then it'll pop up like 2 years later. Somebody on some podcast will be like, I was out in my research area and I heard this really weird noise. It sounded like, and he gives a description. I'm going like, oh God, they heard it over there. Finally, after 2 years later, somebody else with their own research area in some other part of the country heard the same sound we heard 2 years ago.
So it's great confirmation, man.
Well, one thing it helps with is because, in some of these areas they're active, there might be portals or something there, so you don't just have Bigfoot there. So some of the other phenomena, you can't be 100% sure if you can attribute it to Bigfoot or if there are, in fact, other entities or cryptids involved. So when you've got multiple areas where there's Bigfoot there and you're getting the same phenomenon, it can make you a lot more, relatively certain that it's probably Bigfoot related and not something else doing it.
Right. We got a question from Maggie coming in. And how many months out of the year do we not have snow? You want to take that one first, Super Duke?
There's always snow in Montana. It can snow in the middle of August. If you're up at the high enough altitude and you get a bad storm coming through, you can get snowed on any time of the year. It depends on your altitude here. The season is vertical here. The higher you go, the more winter it is. The lower you go, the more summer it is. That's pretty much the way it works.
Same here. But realistically, end of March, April through end of October is when we don't get a lot of snow or any snow. But come the end of October, like around Halloween time, you're on days grace at that point.
Same thing here. We always try and get into as much as we can during the warm months up in my research areas, because by middle October or something, you're just pushing it. And even if you make it up there, you won't necessarily make it back out again, because it could snow a couple feet while you're up there.
Yeah, your area is much more dangerous than mine. Much more dangerous.
Speaking of, go ahead.
That's where you're getting your luck, and you got to go with where you got your luck.
Yeah, you just don't take chances. We even bring like extra batteries and stuff like that with us in case one we have fries accidentally, because it might be a couple days until somebody actually drives by where you're camping, and you can try and flag someone down, assuming they'll stop. They might not. It's not 100% guaranteed. Montanans are pretty nice about that, but if you look like you're from out of state, they might just keep driving, and you're screwed. So I always look like a Montanan in case you need help, and that means wear camo. It's a well-known fact. All Montanans wear camo. It's required clothing here.
Yeah, Central British Columbia too.
Same thing. Yeah, that's how you can tell the locals. They've all got some kind of weird camo thing going on.
When I first moved up here, that was one of the first things I how many people were wearing camo.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what the hell did I move into?
No, it's like a fashion statement. I go to the local Goodwill to see what kind of weird camo shows up there. Oh man, I've got like Chinese winter snow camo. I've got all kinds of stuff that showed up, and for cheap. So yeah, I'm like, appropriately camo dressed any season of the year. And by the way, don't do that in Bigfoot areas. They really hate it. They think you're trying to hide from them, and it twerks them off. Wear bright colors so they know where you're at all the time.
I just usually wear sweatpants and a hoodie.
I always do the combination thing where they can't see me from the waist down because I have camo pants on. And then I wear some ridiculously bright t-shirt usually so they could spot my upper half a mile away.
Is it one of those Kiss Me, I'm Irish shirts?
Yeah, I'm just going to get a Baconator shirt and wear that when I go out there from now on, because that's all they give a crap about anyway. Hey, it's Duke. Where's the bacon, man? To bring peanut butter too, but bacon!
Or fall.
Yeah. Well, I was telling my friends down south, you guys got it easy. You've got local hogs running around the woods down there, and they're considered a pest. You could shoot them all day long. You can have all the free bacon you can imagine to feed your local Bigfoot and make them your friends.
Right?
Trade them for like deer or something. Here, I'll give you all the dead pigs we don't want, and you guys give me a deer occasionally.
How's the hog situation in Montana?
None.
Really?
None. There won't be any either. 1,000-pound grizzlies and Mackenzie Valley timber wolves.
Around
As soon as they try and come in here, 1,000-pound grizzlies will eat them. That will be the end.
Yeah. We have pockets of them around here. But not many.
Nope. No, they figured our regular timber wolves weren't big enough, so they imported some from northern Canada up by their Nahanni Valley, by the way. Yeah, and like, instead of a whole pack of them to take down an elk, now it takes 3 of them. So the little piggies don't have a chance, and that's assuming that the wolves don't get them first, then the grizzlies will eat them. And if you want, here's something I was going to mention. This is funny because Kelly Shaw from Rocky Mountain Sasquatch had a viewer send in a track, and it was from here in Montana in the snow, of gigantic grizzly footprint. Yeah, with the human footprint next to it. And I reposted it on my community tab on YouTube, and enough people commented on it. I went, oh, do you guys want to see pictures of what made that track? So if you want to see some really scary bear pictures, it's on my YouTube community tab right now. And even Kelly Shaw came on and said, holy shit, I don't want to run into that. And, you always think like, oh, during the winter you're safe, they're hibernating. No, 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 no. We got a picture on somebody's security cam in their backyard in Kalispell in January during a cold snap. And there's a 900 or 1,000 pound grizzly walking through their backyard in the dark. That's one of the pictures. And there's another picture, if you want to see another gigantic bear track, that was actually taken by a coastal brown bear up in Alaska. And the guy's standing with his foot in the crater, which is what I'm calling the track that the bear left. It's freaking gigantic.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they're very big. My favorite picture is one where there's a tree, and they've got a 55-gallon oil drum chained to the tree so it doesn't go anywhere. And on the other side of the tree, there's a full-grown Montana grizzly is scratching his back on the tree. So you can see exactly how big he is, because everybody knows how tall a 55-gallon oil drum is. And just look at that oil drum and look at the bear on the other side of the tree. And that tells you that you don't want to run into them. The other thing that I thought this was interesting to post for is because keeping in mind that wherever the Sasquatch are, there's a hierarchy, and the big male, the big alpha male that's running the show, is the one that's in charge of dealing with big nasty predators that might potentially be dangerous to them or their offspring.
Right.
And so how big do you have to be to kick the living crap out of something that big? Well, you have to be really big.
Right. I got to glue here.
No problem. Hey, I can see chat. If anybody's got any questions or anything, I can answer them while Dave's running off to hit the Davy Jones locker. the head, as he said. Yeah, any of you that haven't seen him yet, if you want to take a minute, go over to my community tab on my channel on YouTube, World Bigfoot Radio, and check out those grizzly bear pictures. Like I said, the track is from coastal Alaska, but the rest of the bear pictures, they're from here in Montana. And, there's a reason all the settlers were afraid of those things, because they're gigantic, super strong, not friendly, easily irritated. If they swat you, you're dead. Pretty much that kind of stuff. Deb, yes, long time ago. Pretty much probably when it came out. There's not very many Bigfoot movies that I haven't seen at some point, including a lot of the really old documentaries that were on TV and stuff. And there's a channel on YouTube, I think it's called Sasquatch Archives, that's actually getting permission and getting all of these old shows again. So if you want to see a lot of that stuff that has been on air for like decades, that channel's running it. Did I like it? Deb, I don't even remember at this point. I see so much Bigfoot content. If it's been more than like 3-4 years ago, I probably don't even remember it. Yes, I like to use bear spray too. 12 gauge slug, hollow point, or double aught. That's what I spray at huge bears. I've had bears try and kill me before, and I have also wiped them out and eaten them. So I'm not on good terms with bears. Generally, kind of how Sasquatch usually deal with them too. They're not really on good terms. Large bears are dangerous to their offspring, so they keep them out of their areas where the kids hang around. Which is why I go camp in the areas where their kids hang around. 'Cause then there's no bears there. We got abducted there for a second. Dave still didn't come back. Maggie, the easiest way to do it is to find an area where they're likely to be hanging out, and that has to do with taking a look at a map. There's also things like where there's recurring sightings or something. They're either living in that area or it's an area that's a travel route for them, so you're more likely to be able to find them there. Of course, in areas that have appropriate substrate, which means that the ground is softer, so heavier creatures will actually leave a track. Very handy to have areas like that. So floodplains, lowlands, swamps, thick woods, especially where there's like junctions of rivers, but nobody's built anything there. Like maybe there's a lowland, a bog or something there. Very likely they're hanging around areas like that. And those areas are also very conducive to having, of course, the conditions that are possible for it to leave tracks that you can find. And that's one of the problems that we have here in Montana. We can find tracks all day long, but we're in the Rocky Mountains. This isn't the mushy mountains. It's all rock. There isn't even like any moss on the ground. So when they step on something, you may be able to see that they crush down the grass and stuff like that. But the ground is so damn hard, you could drive a tank across it and not leave a track. So the chance that you're actually going to find a track that can be castable is really low. And even finding ones that are filmable isn't that easy. So it, constantly amazes me when we actually manage to pull that off in some of these areas that we're in, where they, somehow manage to leave tracks. And a lot of times it happens just because it's been raining for a couple days beforehand and the ground is soft enough that, their gigantic weight will, their 800 plus pounds will actually make an impression on the ground. Not always the case. So, yeah, it's all about where they're at. Go where they're at and walk around and you'll find their tracks if you're looking. But keeping in mind that they don't want you to find their tracks. They know how to track other animals. They know animals leave tracks. And they know they leave tracks. And they know that some of us know how to find tracks. So they do their very best to hide their tracks. And they have all kinds of sneaky ways to do that. Some of the really big ones will walk right down the middle of a stream or a creek or something, because whatever tracks they leave will swiftly be washed away and you'll never be able to find them. Or they'll walk on rocks all the time. As much as they can walk on the rocks, it doesn't leave a track. Another trick that they do is where there's a whole pile of fallen timber, and sometimes the trees on the ground intersect each other, they'll walk the tree trunks, zigzagging back and forth, walking those tree trunks, maybe for 100 yards or more if they all connect up with each other, and maybe take one step in between to get their foot up onto the next log. And we've actually found their tracks from looking in areas like that. There's a lot of deadfall, and we know they're walking on it. And wherever there's a gap in between logs that's too far for them to be able to step from one log to another, those are good places to look. And most of the time, we find a track there. So there's all sorts of things to learn to do that.
Duke, I got a question for you. How often do we get reports, or do you get reports, rather, of Bigfoot running?
Well, honestly, if the witness isn't seeing them like vaguely moving, like bobbing back and forth, peeking around a tree or something like that, that's the most common thing that's reported, is they're running. So it's pretty common. The real question is, how often do people actually see it? Because I've seen one run now, and it didn't make any noise, and it was going at like 40 miles an hour. So unless you just happen to be glancing in the right direction when it makes that movement, you're not going to see it anyway.
Right. Right. I just, most of the stuff that we see is, even of the videos, it's got the walk going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, a lot of those, keeping in mind that a lot of those supposed Bigfoot videos where they're walking are BS, and they're not actually Bigfoot.
Oh, no.
That's one of the tells. There's like me and Blaine Tyler and a few other people can look at some of these Bigfoot videos and just like immediately tell you if it's real or not, just based on what the position of the witness is and where the Bigfoot is, what the conditions of the weather are like. Is there a lot of background noise? Are there other people around? And in the more finer points of it, like, is that actually a Bigfoot or a guy in a suit? Which, again, you can tell from body proportion because their legs and arms are the same length, and ours are not. Our arms are 17% shorter than our legs are. So that puts their joints in a different position on their bodies than ours are. You can't fit a human into a Bigfoot-shaped suit. Does not work.
Yeah.
So yeah, we bust the frauds that way.
No, I get that. Like I was watching Kelly today. He had a video of these Sasquatch tracks in the snow. They were just beautiful. He had a video of it on some guy's ranch.
Kelly's so consistent, man. He just, if he can't get out there every week or something, it makes him go insane. If he gets a Bigfoot sighting anywhere near his house and he can't get to it because he can't get the time off, it makes him sick, and then he has to call in sick so he can get the time off to go check it out. Nothing but respect for Kelly Shaw. He is awesome. As a matter of fact, he's helping me with a couple little video projects I'm trying to get done before I go and do my presentation at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. Because he has the video wizardry he has the right software program where he can zoom in on video. And I got 2 clips where subject is quite a ways off in the background, and being able to zoom in on it would look amazing. And one of them was one that was actually cloaking. Got him on video. He's not moving. You can't see him. Then he moves and stops moving again. You can see him really obvious when he moves. And when he stops moving, he just like disappears again. And he's right out in the open the whole time. It's bizarre looking. And that's their little cloaking trick. And then the other one is when Eric Adventure Man was here with me, and he accidentally caught one as he was zooming around with his camera and tried to duck behind a tree to hide from him. So if we get zoom in on that one, it'll look very cool.
No, that's good stuff, man. What's the last good video you've seen, whether it's been released or not released?
Oh, God, there's good ones coming out all the time. Actually, my favorite one this week is Blaine Tyler released it, where he got some static shots from episode 106 of Subarctic Alaskan Sasquatch that Fred Rule does, where he had video of a helicopter surveyor at a gold plot of a gigantic Sasquatch that he caught on video by accident. Now, for whatever reason, that show isn't up anymore. Fred took it down. I don't know why. But during the few days that it was up, a bunch of us looked at it, and some of us took screen captures of it. So Blaine did a breakdown on the screen captures that he got from it and compared them to the 17-foot Sasquatch that he filmed up in northeast Ontario about 10 years ago, which we know how big that one was because it was standing next to an obvious tree that he could go back and measure and scale it. And yeah, built like the Hulk and 17 feet tall. But Blaine estimates this one that the copper pilot accidentally got on video up there in Alaska is actually bigger. He's guessing it's probably closer to 20 feet. This thing's just absolutely ginormous. And Robin McCrae already looked at the video when the video was up and said, yeah, that thing's giving off an energy signature like a nuclear power plant. That's one of the biggest Sasquatch I've ever seen. So I recommend check that video out. Blaine always kicks butt. And as of tomorrow, if you want to see some recent pictures that Blaine got, I'm going to have them up on my community tab on YouTube, because since when I was over at Minnesota a little over a week ago, he was running around up there in the woods, and he heard a wood knock behind him. And so Blaine is smart. He knows if you turn around to the camera, they're going to hide. So he just stays facing away from them and takes a selfie with a lot of room over his shoulder on this one side for whatever might be back there watching him. And sure enough, he catches one. There's a big power line. You know what power lines look like with a power line cut? There's no underbrush or anything there. Well, there's this gigantic one sitting in the middle of the power line cut looking at him. He gets the picture of that one. And then 3 days later, he sends me this other picture, and he goes, hey, I was just walking back, and there was a couple of them following me, and they did a pretty crappy job of cloaking, and he's got that picture again. And these two are just massively huge, and you can see their outline and everything. He's right; they did a pretty crappy job of cloaking on that one. But I'll have those pictures up tomorrow for you guys to take a look at if you want to. Is there any reports of... Excuse me, I got another question from Maggie, Dave. What's she saying? Are there any reports of a similar being to our Junjudees in Australia? You mean here in North America? Oh, absolutely. Albatwitches. They're almost identical. They're over on the East Coast. Little bitty squatches. They only get about 4 feet tall. They got a picture of one a few years ago on a game cam. And it's like, it looks like the little furry guy that used to be on Land of the Lost in the original series. Can't think of what his name is right off the top of my head. But about the same size and everything, too. And there's actually a couple deer in the same picture with them. So if this is, you can tell by the size of the deer how big this thing is. And if it's a kid in a suit, how has he got these wild deer hanging around with him? See what I'm saying? So this is fairly convincing to me that probably was actually an albatwitch, and this was got at least 10 years ago that they got that picture. Chaka, thanks, Tex. Couldn't think of it. But yeah, it looked just like Chaka, except with like bigger afro.
Nice. Well, Super Duke, it's that time of the night where we got to say goodnight to everybody.
All right, everybody. I will be back, like I said, on Thursday, and when I come back, we will talk about some rock apes in Vietnam. And it's going to totally rock. Old school. Rock apes. Yeah!
Nice. Tomorrow night on the show, the guys from Crypted 559 are going to be here, Javier and Jesus, and we're going to hang out with them for a little while and get some cryptid reports out of California. Big thank you tonight. Hi, Delilah, how are you? Nice to see you. Big J, good to see you as well. Thank you to the super chatters tonight. Maggie, Kira, Cat Chaser ×2, Pam, Nancy, and Deb. Thank you so much for the love. Can't wait to get Jesus and Javier on the show tomorrow night. You're going to love them. I loved them since the first time I met them down in San Francisco a couple weeks ago. And they will be at our Las Vegas party in May 19th through 21st. At the Golden Nugget. So make sure you get your tickets here very, very soon. Big thank you to all of you who hit subscribe recently and rang that bell. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.